What's up, everybody? Welcome back to my channel. I'm Sunshinery. Make sure to like and share this video.
What's up, everybody? Welcome back to my channel. We are here for another Nick Viall Podcast episode. This week, though, is with Ally Lewber, who is James Kennedy's ex-girlfriend. Now, ever since we have heard about the DV allegations, we have not really gotten a chance to talk to Ally regarding everything. She has since moved out. She has her own place, which I will be showing you an IG video of the tour of it. And they sit down for a really heavy but needed conversation. So get ready to buckle up for this episode. I also will be bringing to you the latest Disrespectfully episode, which features the girls from Humbly Brag. Now, if you don't know who they are, I know that you'll know who they are once I explain to you who they are. So we have Crystal, who used to be on the Real Housewives of Beverly Hills, and Miss Cynthia from Real Housewives of Atlanta. They started their own podcast and recently just did the Disrespectfully podcast with Katie and Dayna. So I will be bringing you that episode along with both episode 1 and 2 of Humbly Brag, and then we'll go from there to see if we want to continue with that podcast or maybe try a different one. I do also want to bring Ally's new podcast here. It's about astrology and all of that. Starstruck. Love it. And I'm a big astrology person, so we have a lot of new stuff coming. Stuff that you don't want to miss. So if you have not yet subscribed to my channel, make sure that you press subscribe and then go back and set your notifications to all so you get notified every time I post a video or go live. You don't want to miss all the fun stuff that is coming out here on my channel. All right, let's buckle it up and let's get into this Nick Viall's Going Deeper with Ally Lewber.
Ally,
hello.
Welcome to the Viall Files.
Thank you. Hi, guys.
We're so excited. It's been
I know.
such a long time coming.
I know.
We're so happy to finally
missed
have you.
It is,
Thank
yeah,
you.
it was a long time coming. We've talked a
Yeah.
lot about you coming on the show.
Yeah.
We just obviously thought it'd be in different context than we are
for
here
sure.
today.
I thought there'd maybe be someone else next to me.
Yeah.
Yeah. He didn't seem to let that down.
No.
At the
Yeah,
time.
he's not a podcast person. Yeah. I don't think it would have happened, to be honest.
Well, thank God for us.
So here we are.
So here we are.
I always kind of listen, I get podcasting in general can be a little nerve wracking. It is a long form,
Yeah.
and things like that. But I always sometimes, my spidey senses sometimes go up a little bit when people really seem to be afraid
Yeah.
of having like a conversation about like themselves or their lives and things like that.
Yeah.
And I always kind of got that sense from James
Yeah.
that there was a reason why he didn't really want to come on
Yeah.
and do a podcast. It wasn't like a desire to like not have attention or anything
Yeah.
like that or the notoriety. It just seemed like maybe,
Yeah.
he didn't want just
To go deep. I know he would
To go
always
deep,
say
yeah.
like, well, I don't really want, like, if we're not filming, why would I don't really want to go and like talk about everyone or like have to keep all the drama going. So like that was always what he would say. But yeah, I just think that, I don't know, maybe podcasting, he wouldn't be very comfortable doing it.
Well, we are excited to have you.
Thank you.
And excited to talk about everything that is you and get to know you, obviously,
Yay.
because, like, I think a lot of times people know you as James's girlfriend.
Yeah.
People know me as Nick Viall's wife, you know?
And obviously there's a lot more to you. There's a lot more to you than obviously that. But I think we've always been very interested in getting to know you, especially even on the show. On the show, you kind of presented as this kind of very demure, very sweet person.
Thank you.
Gorgeous,
Gorgeous,
funny,
wonderful.
silly.
But as we got to know you, you really did you seemed to be someone who maybe was the best version of James, and like I think at times whatever growth I saw in James, because for me, I didn't really get into Vanderpump until Scandival, like many other people.
Yep.
I've gone back and watched a lot of the old episodes and things
Oh,
like
you have?
that.
Okay.
Yeah. Even I watched one this morning.
Oh, fun. Which one? No, I don't want to know.
I'll ask you about later. But yeah, so it did seem like James had started to make some progress. And the last time we saw you was that night. And I remember having a conversation with James, really just about like, man, it was like almost like, I didn't know you then. I've certainly heard things about your reputation, but you really seemed like he had made some progress. And I kind of always attributed that progress a lot to you.
Oh, well, thank you.
Well, I'm glad that they have Ally on for this podcast. I will say, like, podcasts are just very more relaxed, comfortable. It's 2, sometimes 3, 4 people talking and just getting to know each other and going deeper. And I don't think that James really necessarily wants to go deep on things in his past, let alone about himself. There's a lot that he likes to keep private in that sense. So I think by him saying, like, he doesn't want to go on to podcasts and, like, bring up the drama if the show's not being aired and all that is an excuse, in my opinion. But I'm glad that Ally's here. I'm glad that we get to talk to her. And I'm glad that it's with Nick. And I, too, personally feel like a lot of what we saw from James and contributed to his success and doing better and being a better person did come from Ally. I always felt that, like, him with Ally made him such a better person. He was on, like, his redemption tour in that sense. But something obviously happened. And I did say when I saw that he was drinking again that him drinking is not necessarily what's best for him, and that's what brings out the worst in him. And I was very worried for him when I saw him drinking again. And yes, some people can have a control on their drinking, and I just don't think that, though he might feel like he has control, I just don't think alcohol is for him. He turns into a different person when he's drinking, and it's not a very good person. But let's get into this.
Yeah, I know. It's difficult. I feel like a lot of people say that, and it's sweet. I do think that we both brought out the best in each other, obviously, at times. He really helped me feel, like, confident, and he really believed in me and helped me, like, honestly pursue astrology and, like, kind of just, he's such a dreamer, Yeah. That was, like, one of the things that really drew me to him in the beginning. But yeah, it was crazy, right? Like, I mean, he was really at the top of his game. Like, he was really the DJ residency. Like, everything was going so well. Vanderpump was over, but somehow he was ending on a high note.
Yeah. Which
Like,
was hard to do.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was such a good, and then everything. Yeah.
Yeah. So what's your comfort level? Obviously, we want to talk about that night and get a little glimpse into that relationship. But, like, do you want to warm up into it? Do you want to get right into it and then
just get right into it
and then push it away
Yeah.
and then
Day
forget
off.
about it?
Yeah. That.
So you want to do that?
That one.
Okay. All right.
I mean, that night. So wait, when you guys were talking to him, so because I was working at that event, Kathy Hilton's party,
You were?
I was
DirecTV,
there
you
with
had it,
DirecTV. Yeah, I was there to do Kathy Hilton's birth chart. So for, like, the first 2 hours before, I mean, I hadn't even seen James, right? Like, I was working, and then I wrap, I come out, I'm finished, I'm, like, excited to see him, and now we know, like, during that time he had been, like, sneaking and going up to the bar and, like, ordering drinks.
Okay.
James is the person where he can have one drink and you can, like, immediately tell, like, it's pretty obvious. And I kind of knew something. I was like, you're being a lot. Like, you're being kind of like, you're giving drunk James right now. Like, we kind of got through the party and everything was fine.
Had he been sober? He had been, to your knowledge.
To my knowledge. But no, he wasn't. So then later I found out, like, after everything, that he was drinking behind my back.
For, like, a while.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Yeah. At least a few months, like, that I know of.
Okay.
So that was, like, a whole other, like, side of everything too, where I'm like, okay, there's no trust then,
Right.
So that was a whole thing also. And then that's when we got in the Uber on the way back home, that's when I was like, you're drunk. And then he's like, no, I'm not. You're drunk. And I'm like, no, you're drunk. And it was just, then everything escalated.
All we really know as, like, the public is that neighbors heard a disturbance, called the police.
Mm-hmm.
The police showed up. We have the police report that said that there was it didn't name you.
Yeah.
So for, I think, a long time we were like, allegedly Ally, because we didn't know. But it said that a female had been picked up and thrown to the ground.
Mm-hmm.
And that's kind of all we know of that night.
Yeah.
So what happened outside of your house?
Honestly, it was just such an upsetting night. Like, my friend was also there, and it was all of us just really fighting and yelling at each other. I wasn't hurt. I do know that, I don't know who called the cops, but I know they obviously showed up and then they, like, assessed the situation themselves. I did not press charges. I was not hurt. And moving, like, forward from that night, I definitely now look back and I see things from a different perspective, where, like, obviously that night I was just so upset about the lying and the drinking. And, like, I, in my head, I was like, well, we're already done because you've betrayed my trust, And he also knew that I already had told him before, like, hey, if you drink again, that's a non-negotiable for me for this relationship.
Now, I do have the daily arrest log for us to look at. It does say, unknown problem, contacted male and female inside a residence. Female stated her boyfriend lifted her up and threw her to the ground. Male arrested for 243, and it's just the code for DV. Interesting that she says that she was not hurt, but did he actually lift her up and slam her to the ground like it says that she told the police? Now, I also do have a clip from Nick Viall's podcast right after the event, because he also did see something very strange that night with James Kennedy. And before we look at that, I do also want to say, too, I was unaware that he was back on the sober bandwagon. I knew that he was occasionally having a drink every now and again, but I did not realize that he was back to being sober and then hiding it from Ally. That, yes, breaks the trust. And I will give it to Ally. Unlike Rachel, she stood her ground. She said, if you drink again, this is it. And especially with what happened, she stood her ground. And that is something that, unfortunately, with people in addiction or alcoholics, you have to have strong boundaries, barriers, and willpower. And it's not always easy to do, especially with somebody that you love and care for, that you only want the best for. But let's take a look at what Nick Viall had to say regarding the event right after everything happened.
Oh, one more story. So we saw James and Ally there. James crushing his DJ career.
At Kathy Hilton's?
Kathy Hilton's. Said hi, love James, love Ally.
Me too. I fuck with James, I fuck with Ally.
Took a picture. I hope James is okay with me saying this. James brought a friend. We met his friend seemed lovely. Natalie and I were talking to some people like 15 minutes later. I'm the only one who saw this. Natalie didn't even see this. Natalie was immersed in a conversation with the other person we were talking to. And then James walks by. And then James turns around and he says to his friend, I forgot his friend's name. Let's just say his friend's name is Sam. And he goes, Sam, hold this now. And I was like, and his friend just grabbed the drink and James kept walking. And I was like, that's
the James Kennedy.
That was insane.
But you know what? That's the sober James Kennedy we all want to see.
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
we want him to be we don't want him to be drunk to do. We want to be like, you want to do that? Like that's who you are, motherfucker.
I was like 10 minutes earlier, I met this guy who he introduced as his best friend, and then 10 minutes later, he was barking orders and
he's
just saying,
DJ James Kennedy, man. He needs his hands free.
Neon Carnival DJ James Kennedy.
Think
hold this now.
Yeah, he's got to go do something.
Yeah, he was.
That's awesome.
It was awesome. Yeah,
Hell yeah.
I really felt like I saw something precious.
Yes.
Yeah.
Saw something you shouldn't have saw, but you were happy you did.
And I was the only one who saw it, and everyone else was just like in their own lane. When you say you weren't hurt, just to clarify, was there any moment in that night where you, or I guess anyone else who might have been present, like felt like he was getting physically aggressive with you? Like whether it's a disconnect or perception of this situation that escalated into his arrest?
Honestly, like, not physically, but verbal, manic, like just really, really loud and like intense and just like sporadic behavior where it's like you don't really know what this person is capable of or going to do. It's not necessarily like a safe feeling. Yeah. But that's, again, like that's just why with that relationship, like looking back now, like just the eggshell, like walking on eggshells in that relationship because you never know what's going to trigger him. That was like the hardest part, which now that I'm like out of that relationship, I'm like, oh, this is what it's like to have like a normal, my nervous system is like regulated. I'm like, oh.
Was there part of you that maybe it was that night, maybe it was throughout the relationship that ever felt a feeling of being scared?
Yeah, I think that, I don't know if I like felt scared to the point where I felt like he was like, I was unsafe, but to the point where I'm like, this isn't, I don't know. I feel like sometimes like in the moment, at least, I thought that I could like regulate him or control him or like help calm him down. So I felt like I kind of took on that role of like, it's okay, like calm down, like everything will be all right. And that's not healthy. I don't think. You shouldn't have to like regulate someone.
No.
Right?
No, you shouldn't.
Yeah.
You're right. You shouldn't have to regulate someone else's emotions, especially if this is an ongoing occurrence. It's okay if it happens once in a blue moon, but if it's all the time, you having to regulate someone's emotions, and then you might even just feel a little hint of being scared of, I don't know what the outcome of this is going to be because he's going too crazy. You shouldn't even have to feel that. That shouldn't even be something that you should always feel that you are safe. And if that even little bit of uncertainty is there, you definitely need to see why you feel that way. But I'm glad that she's out of the situation and she's seeing it from a different perspective now that she's out.
You know, it's so tough in relationships. I think all of us, you know, if you have a past with relationships, you've had your heart broken, if you've been in long-term relationships, whether it's, you know, maybe something as toxic as, you know, maybe the behavior James has displayed or whatever, you know, like we've all been in relationships where, you know, we accept people for who they are. You know, we realize no one's perfect. We know we're not perfect. So we get into a relationship and there's always this like, I'm not asking you to be perfect because you're not perfect and I can help you and we want to help each other. And then, and then we kind of maybe learn a little bit more about our partners. And then there's that tough mental gymnastics of being like, wait, is this behavior okay? Or do I just need to be there for my partner? And then, you know, in James's case, you know, like for me, as I became more aware of James Kennedy, the character, his reputation, as I became more a fan of the show, you go back and watch old episodes, and then people from the past, you know, Kristen Doute's been very outspoken, even Raquel has been outspoken. And, you know, like people like Kristen or Raquel have their own baggage. They have their own history of behaviors that, you know, at times people have used against them in terms of, I don't know if we should believe this person because they've done X, Y, or Z. And, or they're, you know, Raquel, like there's a history of being dishonest there with her and stuff like that. With all of the speculation regarding James's past behavior with women, is that something that you struggled with in the relationship with James? Just trying to figure out like, who's telling the truth versus like, hey, I need to be there for my man type of thing. And is that kind of like the hindsight's 2020 that you're speaking about?
Yeah, that was really difficult in the beginning. I mean, heck, even now where, you know, this was just back in December and obviously I got out of that relationship, but it's not like I just left and it was easy. It wasn't. And I felt really guilty. Like, oh, well, now he's going to AA and like he does have alcoholism. So like, do I need to be there for him and support him? Like, no. But like at that moment, I didn't know that. I felt really bad and guilty. I'm really grateful for like my mom and just my support system in LA because I don't know if I would have been strong enough to leave and to stay away. Honestly, like I don't know if I would have been or not. So like I feel like that's another point too, is just like, and if you're ever in like a relationship like that or something, like in a weird way, I'm kind of grateful almost that it was so public because it was like out there. And then my friends and family were able to really like, you know.
It's like you had strangers kind of holding you accountable to like not
which sounds
back.
crazy.
Had there been episodes or events in the past with James that almost felt similar to this event that weren't public, that he was able to talk you out of maybe making different choices?
Yeah, there were a few. I mean, and I think again, like even, you know, sometimes my friends would witness him just acting kind of, you know, a little manic, I would say. I don't know if that's like the right word to use. I'm not like putting a disorder on him or anything, but just that behavior where it's just unpredictable. You're like, okay, where is this coming from? And like, how do we stop it immediately? So there were moments like that. And like looking back, and that's kind of why too, like he knew how I felt about him drinking. Cause like, that's usually what would kind of spark that behavior. So he knew like I wouldn't put up with him drinking again.
And Nick's right. Nobody is perfect. And we love our partner for their flaws because they love us for our flaws. But there is that also line of, is this right? Should I be supporting this? Is this something that I shouldn't be dealing with? Is this emotional abuse? Is this, you know, putting a lot of burden on me that I can't be the best version of myself? And Nick did mention how Kristen has spoken out in the past, and so has Rachel. And what Rachel actually said was, the amount of times I convinced myself the abuse I endured by James Kennedy Giorgio was a misunderstanding is sickening. And it's just sad. I really am glad that Ally is able to speak about this, and it's sad to hear that this was not the only time, that there was many other times in the past that she felt this and other people also witnessed this. And just the fact that, you know, he was drinking behind her back and having these episodes also probably paranoid her to the fact to think like, is this how he is without even alcohol, not realizing he was drinking. It's just sad. I think that James could do such wonderful things if he wasn't drinking, and he needs to get to that point in his life that he realizes how much of a better person he is without alcohol, and then he wouldn't have these moments either.
You think that's why he hid it for as long as he did?
Totally. Yep. And then even, I mean, he's a DJ, right? So like he's traveling on the weekends. I'm not always there. And then he's at these events and DJing and drinking. And then he would like always go back to the hotel and we would like FaceTime and chat. And he would be like, I could just tell sometimes to be like, you drank. And then he'd be like, no, I didn't. You always think that I'm drunk when it was you're drinking. Kind of like gaslighting in a way.
Was there ever a part of you that when he was away and you weren't with him and he was DJing and y'all would FaceTime and you would realize that he was drunk, was there ever a part of you that was a little grateful you weren't with him?
Ooh. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I also never actually thought he was drinking. I would like, he was really good at like, like I'd be like, oh, of course you're not drunk. I'm so sorry. Like, that's so fucked up of me to think that. So then like looking back and after all of this, I'd be like, okay, Halloween, when we went to Sir, were you drinking? He's like, yeah. It's like, okay. It's like I was going back to these dates and kind of asking. And I'm not even mad at him for that. It sucks. Like, you know what I mean? He wishes that we were still together. He wishes, I'm sure, that he didn't do all of that. You know what I mean? It's like, I don't blame him. I'm not mad at him. It's just the way that it has to be now, you know?
Yeah. Obviously, you mentioned that night you weren't hurt. He didn't pick you up and throw you.
Right.
But like I said before, you know, and then when that all came out, I remember almost feeling kind of foolish, like not knowing what the truth is. You know, we saw the police reports. I had a little bit of guilt because I felt like I had, you know, pumped up James, and I had talked about on this show about like, man, he's really turned a corner, you know, like watching old episodes. Yeah. Like, sure, he's done some things and he said some things, but I see the growth, you know, and you want to recognize that a little bit. And then we saw the police report.
Yeah.
And then, you know, Kristen spoken up more. At that point, I had heard some comments from Raquel and quite honestly looked the other way, I suppose, because of her reputation and what seemed to be her propensity for not telling the truth.
Yeah.
But looking back now in your relationship, and I'm sure you've asked James about some of these people's comments, but like, do you believe, knowing what you know about James, and now that you're out of this relationship and you can see it with a clearer lens, do you believe Kristen Doty or Rachel when it comes to their accusations towards James and him being physical towards them?
I want to say like, it's so hard because James has been in my ear, not now, but you know, for our relationship, obviously. And I've heard a lot from the rest of the cast. Mutually, that was just a very toxic relationship on both parties. So I don't really want to say anything, but I will say that, and I have to say this, but also like, it's true, but like, I always will believe women. And I do feel kind of guilty or bad. And I shouldn't, I'm not going to take that on myself. But, you know, sometimes it is like, oh, like they were right. Or like, oh, these people saying all these things about James's behavior. Like, but sometimes I think you have to just really figure it out for yourself. It's like, you kind of just have to, you know, I don't have any regrets. And James, at the end of the day, he is a great person. Like he has great, great qualities and he's wounded. Tried to fix that.
Yeah.
He is wounded, and it isn't her job to fix his issues. That's his job to fix his own issues, and that's something that he's going to have to do, and do a lot of self-reflection to find himself and what he needs to do to better his situation and self, to be the best version of himself. And I feel like Nick, I also sat here on many different occasions when we listened to Rachel's podcast and said, like, I didn't believe, like, what she was saying could be possibly true, or even, like, it was exaggerated, and I shouldn't have. And I still, like, have a hard time thinking that a lot of those situations were as exaggerated as she made them seem, but it could very well be that was the case, or maybe they were a little exaggerated and they were bad situations regardless. And I gave James a lot of credit. I saw a lot of change in him, and I still believe that Ally was a great person for James. He ruined that for himself, though. He made the choices he made and went behind her back and was drinking and not being the best version of himself, and he's the only one to blame. I can't feel sorry for wanting to see the best version of him and hoping that he was doing great, and, you know, giving him that chance that anyone should have. And I still believe that he deserves another chance, especially once he is on that road of finding himself and bettering himself. It's sad that this is even something that has to happen. And I love Ally, and I think she's a wonderful person, and I hope that like he realizes how bad he messed up, because she is such a beautiful soul, and I really enjoyed them together. And I would never want her back with him, especially if that's how he is. But if it's meant to be, it's meant to be. But he needs a lot of work on himself. He needs to do a lot of work, and I don't know. I feel bad. I feel bad that I also sat here and, you know, thought he was doing very well and gassed him up to be a better person in everybody's eyes as well. And he let me down. He let a lot of us down. And I don't think that we need to feel sorry for that, but it's just sad. It's just sad to see him in this position, and it's sad to see her in this position, and her being the victim, and her even getting hurt. Even Kristen, even Rachel, all of them. He needs a lot of help, and I wish him all the best. I wish them all the best.
Speaking of like going back and watching old episodes, I was literally watching an episode this morning because we were recapping it.
Yeah.
And it was another example of James. He was talking about Kristen. He was in a relationship with Rachel. It's just like to hear him say some of the things he says about women towards women is a bit jarring.
Yeah.
You know, and I think, I don't know, you know, maybe it was because it was back in 2016 or different times. I don't know. You watch it back and it's just like, it's alarming.
Disgusting. Yeah, it's alarming for sure. Yeah.
How did you, when you got into this relationship, did you have conversations with him about that? Did he, like, what was his excuse or reasons? And do you feel like he has a warped sense, you know, or an opinion about women or towards women that you feel like it needs some growth?
I honestly don't think it's women. I think because we've seen him act that way to men too, and to Max Vanderpump, Lisa's son. I think that he again is just wounded and like hurt people, and I think that he does not know how to process his emotions in a healthy way, and so he's a verbal attacker. Like he cuts deep.
So it's less about having a lesser opinion of women. He just
he's a child.
He
needs to learn how to process his emotions, and he's aware of that. That's like, you know, he is aware of it. Like,
what do you mean?
Like we've talked a lot about it, you know, in our relationship, obviously, and just he knows that he's got a mouth. He's mouthy, and he would always kind of joke like, "Oh, British humor," but he just, I mean, it's never okay. Like the things, even the word, like he would always use the word fat, and like the way that I was raised, it was just like you just like don't use that word. And so he knew that I had a lot of. I'm like, James, you can't say that. So again, I feel like I would just take on this role as like almost being like, that's not correct behavior, but like this is crazy. Like looking back now. Yeah, it's crazy. I don't know. You see a side of him, at least I did, especially in the beginning. Super charming, sweet, creative, hilarious. You're laughing. He's such a like attentive partner. All of those qualities are just so powerful. So it's like, I know who I fell in love with. I know who I was in love with. I don't have regrets. Like I was fully like invested in that relationship, but it's hard to pay attention to like, well, when the 10% is like bad, but 90% is good.
Yeah.
It's hard.
Yeah, that's really
It's hard. Yeah.
Did he ever say anything to you along the lines of like, you'll never be anything without me? Because I know Kristen kind of said that was what he threw at her a lot.
Here's the thing. I'm sure when he was drunk, he would say mean things. I was really good. And I'm just saying this from like, I don't know why, but like nothing he would ever say would get to me because I knew that I'm like, you're just like being a dick and you're drunk and like, you know what I mean? I'm like, you're just wounded. But yeah, again, it's like, I don't know.
That's a hard mentality to have, though. I applaud you for that.
No, I don't know. I think I would just be like, why? You know, it's kind of like, maybe that's why I stayed so long too, because it's like one of those things where I'm like, I'll just throw it right back at you. You know what I mean? Like we kind of were, even my friends would be like, well, you're really good at putting him back in his place, which like, that's not great. Like that's, okay, yeah, that was great for the time being, but you don't really want a partner that you can like match that energy with. Not that I was matching his energy, but like I would be like, it
shouldn't ever have to get to that.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I mean, it's like it's a very difficult position that you were in to not want to see the best in your partner.
Yeah.
You know, and I don't know what people are thinking who are listening, but you know, people can be very critical of people in your position, whether it's for staying or maybe sounding like you're defending his actions and things like that. But it's much more difficult when you're in that situation to see it the way, you know, with an unbiased, you know, like how I might see it if I was like watching a conversation or a fight between the two of you.
But she shouldn't have to be having to even have somebody say mean things to her even when they're drunk. That's not cool. It's not right. And for her to like, yes, match his energy back, that's fine for the time being. But like she said, that's not something that should even be happening. And right there is a flag for him in his eyes and her eyes too, that like if he's drinking, that's what he's going to do, and that's not necessarily right. It's not cool. It's not anything that he should be saying, and yet he's saying it because he's drinking. Drinking then needs to be cut out of the equation, and I hope one day he understands that and he can really cut alcohol out of his life. Some people can drink, some people can't, and then there are just people like, you can have one and be cut off, and then there's some people that know that if they start drinking, they then can't resist that urge to not stop drinking. So I think he tried the whole, let me see if I can have one here and there, and it didn't work, and it's still determined that he's an asshole when he is drinking, and he's not really a great person when he's drinking, and he's a much better person when he's sober, and he's consistent, and he just needs to stay sober. But he needs to come to that conclusion, not any of us.
What have you learned about yourself specifically around selecting your next partner? And maybe just certain behaviors, like you talked about non-negotiables. Have your non-negotiables changed in terms of accepting certain behaviors and finding that balance between, like I want to help you, but like I can't look the other way with X, Y, or Z.
I think too of like the feeling of love, like when you're in it, and like not saying that he was love bombing me, because his actions always followed, and like, we were in love, but it happened so quickly. Like we moved in together right away. We were like going to Tulum like the second week of knowing each other. That's crazy. Like I'm a Capricorn. Like I wouldn't do that usually. I thought I was crazy, but there's this, when you're in love, you're like, okay, I'm just gonna ride the wave. Like this feels right. This feels so fun. But I think now being on the other side of it, like having just a healthier kind of view of like the way that love should escalate and how it should play out. It doesn't need to feel like so cosmic.
I think a lot of people in your shoes, especially people who have or are in relationships with addicts or people who abuse substances, the challenge obviously for them is hope in the sense.
I know.
Because if you can, and I, not from an alcoholic standpoint, but like for different, for me, it was like if in relationships, if I can identify a problem and I can fix the problem, right? So whether the problem's me, or whether the problem's the partner, or whether the problem's us, it was like, I just have to find a problem and I can fix the problem. And I feel like with people who suffer from substance abuse, for their partners, there's always hope, because there's always a chance that this big problem that seems to be the center of all the problems could get fixed.
Yep.
Now that James is seemingly back in recovery, seemingly sober, and seemingly doing the work.
Yeah.
Do you feel like you're at risk of one day him knocking on your door and claiming he's a new changed man who's been sober for a period of time, but this time it really has stuck? And it would be, it would be hard for anyone who loved that person to see, and especially like the last thing you want, like to find that the person you loved and you accepted them at their worst is now better, and you don't get to enjoy the better.
I know.
It's like that mental fuck up. Like how do you deal with that or that potential? And have you thought about that?
It's so funny you say that, because I remember also when we started dating, like talking to Raquel and being like, thank you, because like I'm sorry that you didn't get this version, but like thank you for helping him. Like it's kind of weird how just I don't know, the pattern. I honestly do have so much love for James that I want him to genuinely heal and get better, and I want him to find love. Like I really do. And I don't think that will be with me. I feel like there's just been too much that's gone down. I think I would always just be on edge or like wondering what if, and it's hard because I would love to support him and do that, but I just can't. Yeah. But I haven't really thought about that, to be honest. Yeah.
It's scary, right? Just because hope can be a great thing, but sometimes when it comes to relationships, we invest way too much in hope, and we don't see. I always ask people like, what do they do that makes you happy? And then people be like, it's just like, but they're so funny, and I really like it when they do this, but like they don't really think about how that person day in and day out makes them feel. Like what's your normal resting emotion in this relationship? Anxiousness, like on edge, and things like that.
That's what's so hard. My therapist has been incredible, because I was telling her, like, after all this happened, I was like, I'm just so confused, because I didn't realize at the time. I was like, I literally thought that our life was like a fairy tale. Like I loved it. I loved our house. I loved hippie. Like everything was great. Both of our careers, like it was just perfect. And I was like, it was so great. And she was like, Ally, no, it wasn't. He was lying to you. So like, it wasn't real. And I was like, shit. Whoa. So it did take me a while to almost have to like really remove myself and like to see clearly again.
Yeah, it's tough too, because then you're like, well, I have to say goodbye to a life too. You know, like I don't like, fine, I don't want them, but what about my life?
No, literally.
You know?
I'm like, but Hippie. Yeah.
And is Hippie with you now?
No, Hippie is with James, but it's okay.
We have your cats.
I have my cats. I have Mr. Banks and Bodie. I've been sleeping with the stuffed golden doodle. It was Hippie's little golden doodle, and they literally so I took that with me. But no, he's with James, and Hippie is great. Like James and that dog are literally soulmates. Like I honestly, like if anything great from that relationship, I mean, a lot of great things have come from it, but like him getting Hippie back and like that whole story, like he is a great dog dad, and trust me, I would not let Hippie be in a position where he was ever unsafe. Like he's good.
That's a crazy tough question, and I do think that's something that she does need to think about, because there's always that possibility that he might try to come back into her life and be like, listen, I've been sober now for over 1.5 years, and I thought what we had was real love and true love, and I want to see if we can make this happen again. She really does need to see that as a perspective of what if that does happen, and what would she be vulnerable to it, or would she want to try again, or would there just be too much? I know she says that now, but it's not something she's thought about until this moment as well. So, and I'm glad to hear that he's a great dog dad. I never doubted that for 1 second. And I'm glad that he has somebody in his life, whether it's a golden doodle or somebody as a person. It's having that emotional support animal, person, someone that is in need of you, that you need to give your attention to for that thing to continue to live. And sometimes when you're at your lowest of lows, that's what you need to keep going each and every single day, having that cat or dog or something to rely on you. And he's not in the best shape right now, and he needs that comfort and that support, even if it's from a dog.
I heard something about that James is back DJing now or on tour.
Yeah, yep. He's I believe that I don't know if he got his residency back or if he's just but I know he played at Live Again. And I'm happy. I want him to, I don't know. I mean,
from a work, yeah. Like I get what you're saying, but like,
Yeah.
and I guess it's maybe none of our business, but you certainly have the right to have an opinion about that relationship.
Yeah.
From an outsider point of view, it seems a bit quick. I understand it's his career. I understand people have to make a living, but like that is a lifestyle that makes it very difficult.
In that regard?
Yeah.
Yeah. No,
It's a triggering environment.
It's
so like someone who's so,
definitely.
and I guess for me, it's just like, again,
Yeah.
his history with Raquel, Kristen,
Yeah.
obviously with you, it's like, this is a man who, and my biggest criticism of him has been, he seems to blame it all on the alcohol. All of his problems are wrapped up in his sobriety or lack thereof. And it's like, and I've kind of been very critical of that, but it's like, all right, fine.
Yeah.
But if that's the case, gee whiz, it sure seems a little quick that you're back out there dropping beats, and we're supposed to think that you're ready to do this when in the past you have claimed to be sober, you've lied about being sober, you've relapsed multiple times. It's like he's like a broken record.
Yeah.
Do you think that's a fair, criticism that I have or other people have, like questioning once again, just how genuine is this person about changing his ways?
That's exactly why I can't be with him, right? Because I don't know. Because I won't know. We won't know until like enough time until he proves it. I hope that he is. From what I've seen, he has been going to AA. He has a support system around him that are also sober. So like, I just hope that he stays on that path. I know that he loves DJing more than anything in the world. Like he will move to Ibiza if he has to and just like play music on the beach. You know what I mean? Like that is what I believe is meant to do. So he'll figure it out. But I hope it's not triggering for him, but not my problem.
Are you guys in no contact at all?
Not no contact, but we don't talk. But like yesterday I was like, hey, I just canceled Hippies. It was like a whole brand deal thing and I was on the count and I was like, canceled that. So like you need to reorder his food. And he was like, okay, thanks.
Are you at all nervous about what he's going to think about you doing this interview? Because I've
I'm
been very critical of him.
A little nervous about that, yeah.
And nervous in what way though?
I just know that he's not going to be happy, but yeah.
Not your problem.
Not my problem,
okay.
right? Mm-hmm.
Is that tough to
Yeah.
believe? Yeah.
I just feel a little like, I don't know. I think he has strong feelings about things, but yeah, it's not.
Does he want you to just not talk about the relationship, the flaws, the imperfection of,
probably.
He just doesn't want any of that kind of aired out.
But even when we were together, he never really wanted us to do podcasts and things.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I think that he when he listens to, I mean, I'm saying the truth and like everything that he already knows too. So,
I mean, I think honestly, you're being very gracious.
Thank you.
You're being honest, but there's a
Yeah.
clear sense that you care about this man. And there's a clear sense that you're not trying to
no.
kick him while he's down
Yeah.
or just shit on him to benefit yourself. I mean,
Yeah.
you know,
no, I
we
don't
obviously
want
wanted to have you on and we wanted to talk about this, but it's not like you were knocking on our door and trying to
Yeah.
be like, oh, I got a story to
I have
tell
some
now.
stuff
You
to
like,
say, no.
you've been incredibly gracious and honestly
Thanks.
incredibly protective of him. I hope he actually sees that and appreciates
too.
that, because to Natalie's point, like
Yeah.
you were in this relationship and you have a story to tell and you kind of have been living in his shadow, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. That's crazy. He was with me. So the night before, like that night that everything happened to, like that week was such a high and obviously such a low. I had 3 of my biggest job opportunities like ever. Obviously doing Kathy Hilton's birth chart for the party. And then for Starstruck for my podcast, we filmed the very first episode the night before Kathy's party with James. Obviously, like he was going to be my first guest. So like that was so exciting. And then the Kathy thing. And then I had something else the next day. And then to just have also like the astrology of December, I was telling James like leading up to it, I was like, hey, the astrology for both of us is really bad for December. So like if we're meant to be together, we will make it through December. And if not, we won't. I gave him so many warnings. Guys, literally, I was like,
You really told him that?
yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah. And my friends knew too. My makeup artist, Anais, was with me for those nights because I had so many events going on. She was like, Ally, like the next day she was like, well, actually, she didn't know about it until the world did because I didn't say anything. But she was like texting me like, that's crazy. You literally called that, because I didn't know what was going to happen. But I just knew that like the astrology was crazy. It was all happening in my 7th house, which is the house of relationships, and in his 10th house, which is like reputation. So I was telling him too, like, hey, be on your best behavior.
Damn.
It's crazy.
It's crazy.
And that's so interesting that her astrology for that month had so many warning signs for the both of them, and that she kind of knew in that sense that something might bad happen and not be the best for their relationship. And it was like such a high, like she said, she had 3 great opportunities, and then that all crumbled right before her eyes. It's sad. And I do hope, and that's why I love astrology, because it's like you have those kind of warning messages to kind of feel it out and be able to change it if you can sense during that time this is what's happening. So that's why I would love to cover her podcast. And I'm wondering now if they even had him on as the first guest for that first episode. So we definitely need to cover that here on my channel. So if you're not yet subscribed, this is your time to subscribe and to like the video if you have not done so yet.
Did he ever, in his manic states, verbally threaten you at all?
No, it was more of just like insults.
That tracks.
Yeah.
Like if we've seen it on TV,
Exactly.
you've experienced
You've seen
that.
it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Did it almost make it less bad in your head because you had seen it on TV in a weird way? Does that make sense?
That does make sense. And yeah, because there's this, he's done it before. I've seen him do it before, where like if you don't see that, like even for like Raquel, I mean, she saw it with Kristen, but like from Kristen's perspective, yeah, that had to have been harder because it's like she doesn't know that, like to her, like it's her problem. Like he's lashing out at her. But it's like, okay, this has been such a pattern of this man, this boy. So like, okay, this is his problem. Like, you know, I don't take it personally.
I was in a very abusive relationship, different from yours. It was very physical and would get verbal at times. But it occurred mostly when he was on some sort of drug or alcohol or whatever it may be, but not all the time. And there was a lot of the like morning after of the apologies and the love bombing and the promises and all of those things, which ultimately did lead me to stay every single time. And the only reason that I was able to finally get out of this relationship was that it had gotten so bad, police were called. And I think when police are called, it's kind of a wake-up call. You know, it makes things seem very real. Because a lot of the time it was like, what I'm doing is making him do this to me. Like, it's my problem. You know, if I fix this, then this won't happen anymore. And then when police show up, it's like, oh, wait, no. Like, what he's doing is illegal.
Totally.
And, like, he can be arrested. And so I am so grateful that police showed up that day to save me from that relationship. Is there a part of you that is, like, grateful that the police showed up that day?
Yeah, I do. I agree with you. I think that it would have the cycle would have continued. I already know that it did. I had an event the next day, woke up, all my friends were like, oh, where's James? I'm like, oh, he has food poisoning. No, he was in an AA meeting. Like, and I felt so guilty, but like the things that we do to like protect them, because we feel bad is crazy.
I think there's also a sense of like embarrassment almost of like, I wasn't raised to let a man treat me this way.
Yep. Single mother. I know you're very close with your mom too. Single mom, like, yeah. So that's
very
just
independent. Yeah. And so it was like, I had all these people telling me like, I don't get weird vibes from him. I don't like the way he says certain things to you. Like maybe he's not your person. And it would like lead me into him harder.
Yeah.
Because I think I was embarrassed to like finally admit that I was allowing this to happen to me. So
yeah, relatable.
I think when the police get involved or like family gets involved, it holds that person accountable and it holds you accountable in that sense that now people are aware of what's going on and it's time for you to also understand and see that what you've been dealing with this whole time privately behind doors is not okay. And is this the person that you want to be with for the rest of your life? Is this someone that should be treating you the way you are allowing them to treat you? No, it's not okay. And I think when more people become aware, it makes it so that you're able to see from a different point of view what's going on as well, because they're there to help you open your eyes, and then you're not feeling as alone as you would if it was just still happening and nobody knowing what was going on. And I think it's that sense of relief as well that other people are now aware and you can lean on them for help and advice and understanding that you don't deserve this and this is not okay and this is not right and this is not just, you doing something wrong, that this is what you deserve, because you don't. So I think that definitely helped break the cycle of what was going on in that relationship between Ally and James, and her having more people aware of the situation was also holding her accountable in the sense that she didn't deserve this and she deserved better, and that this is not normal what he was doing to her, and this is not okay. So I'm glad that she is away from all of that, mental, emotional, verbal, and even physical abuse.
It's crazy. And being on the other side, I feel like, it's only been 3 months, but there's still like so much that I need to process, and still so much where I'm like, oh, that was abusive behavior. Like that's not okay. So it's, being on the other side, it does feel freeing for sure. And I am grateful that happened, because it is, I think I probably would have stayed. And then the cycle continues.
Yeah, it does.
Do you think James has acknowledged or accepted that in addition to getting sober and working on his sobriety, that he has some other work to do with regards to his treatment towards women or how he handles himself in relationship? That, like you said, there's all different forms of abuse, and obviously the physical is maybe often the most damaging and most dangerous. But do you think he acknowledges that or sees that?
I don't know. I really don't know. I hope so. I always said too, like the alcohol, like the substances would bring out this monster, but like that's still within you. So like you need to do deeper work. And I always was trying to get him into therapy. He would go for a couple weeks and then get too busy. And then, life was great again for a month. And it was just always, I was always like, there's something deeper. I would always try to get him like to get a brain scan or to like go get tested. And I think that I know he did a program, I forget what it's called, but it's basically where like boys become men, where he like went camping, which I'm sorry, it's just so funny. I'm like, James camping he has to sleep with like a Four Seasons pillow. It's just really funny. But so he's putting in work, but like, I don't know if I don't know.
So your mom came to get you that night or the morning after?
It was like a few days after. Yeah.
Okay. What was that kind of conversation like with your mom?
Basically like, it was around Christmas. So they were actually going to be, my family was going to be coming and staying with us at our house. They were going to be coming like 5 days after all of this happened anyway. So my mom, I think she did fly out though earlier, but she was like, you're getting an Airbnb. I don't care. Like, you don't have to think about what you guys are going to do right now. Just like, please just get out and like, let's do Christmas there. And at first I was like against it because I was still living in the house with James and he was like, what? No, like, I'm so glad like that I did the Airbnb. And my mom ended up staying with me in that Airbnb in Larchmont for a month. And it was just so good. Like, I mean, it was not good. It was sad. It was like totally just a month of like healing and like processing everything and like, but it was necessary for sure.
Her having her mom there and just getting out of the situation, you learn a whole lot about yourself just being away from your significant other, and having that support is needed, especially at a time like that. And there is going to be a grief period, there's going to be a loss period, and you're going to be vulnerable, and you're going to be feeling like, you know, maybe you could work this out and this could get better, and you just need that time to process. You need a therapist. I think therapy is amazing, whether you feel like you need it or not, because therapy in that sense too, even like for James, like it's having that person that you could just open up to about anything and everything, and also know that it's never going to leave their office. That's the wonderful thing about a therapist, is having that other person that you can talk to literally about anything, especially in his position as like a celebrity and worrying about like if someone's going to come out with this story or like betray them, things like that. Having that therapist there for you to talk to about everything is amazing to do, whether you need them or not. And you learn more about yourself and bad habits and good habits and how to just become a better version of yourself. So therapy is always beneficial. And I understand the stigma behind it. And I also feel like in our day and age too, we need to have more therapy for people. And our government does not allow that when our insurance doesn't cover things like that. And I think it should be more availability to it. I mean, just even for instance, I know the clinics that my friends go to for their recovery, they used to offer therapy in the clinic as well. And because there's so many people that have signed up, they literally have no more room to take on any new people that need mental health help. And it's sad because this is something that they could benefit from, but they don't have any more opportunity to have new people because they've already booked up. They're booked up completely. The state will not allow them to take in any more new clients, and it sucks because there are so many more people out there that need this and can benefit from this, and they can't get it now.
Another person I've been very critical of as it relates to the story is Lisa Vanderpump.
Oh. Mm-hmm.
Who'd you think I was going to say?
I'm glad I didn't say what I thought you were going to say.
Yeah. Are you familiar with the statement she eventually made regarding the situation?
Yes.
Did you have any feelings about it? Because it kind of felt like at the end that I think her statement basically was kind of suggesting that like you blew it out of proportion, which to me felt a little icky and dirty because she has a long history, especially with James.
Yeah.
Clearly there's like a family connection there and things like that. I just thought that was kind of gross on her part, but maybe I'm not, understanding the full context of why she made the statement that she made.
All I'll say, she called me and she did make sure like, are you okay? I mean, this was like 2 months later, but she called and made sure.
She called you 2 months later?
Maybe, or a month. I don't know.
Certainly not the next day.
Certainly not the next day. But she called and checked in on me. And then she's very protective over James. And I get it because I was too for a long time. Like it's very motherly.
But you were in love with him.
Yeah. I was in love with him. Right. I think that she feels protected, like a mother almost to him. Yeah. And I thought that was really weird at first when I first got on the show. Then I kind of started to understand it a little more. But she was basically like, Ally, like he needs you. Like you're really good together. I don't think that
so she was trying to convince you to stay with him even after learning that he.
Yeah, she was like, you should go travel with him to his shows this weekend. I'm like, first of all, what shows? He's canceled right now. And also, no, I just moved into an apartment. We're not together. But it was really weird because on the call, I was kind of like, I was like weak in the moment, and I'm like, like, did I make the wrong, you know what I mean? Like questioning everything.
Do you think James asked her to make that call?
I don't know. I really don't know. Yeah.
Yuck.
I don't know. It was, I called I called some friends after, and I'm glad I did, because I didn't even tell my mom this, because she would have just been so upset. But like I called a bunch of friends after and like told them everything she said, and they were like, no, like she's a producer. That's her trying to quite literally produce and like get you guys back together. So like I don't know why.
Wow.
Yeah. And then it was a lot of like, well, you were drinking too. And
she said that to you?
Mm-hmm.
Do you feel like you need to protect Lisa Vanderpump in this moment?
Yeah.
Or are is it more, are you afraid of Lisa Vanderpump?
I'm not afraid.
You're not afraid?
No, I'm not afraid. I think there's a piece of that world that like, I'm not afraid. I don't really want to, I don't know, what am I feeling?
What are you feeling?
What am I feeling, you guys? I don't know either. It's like, I'm not scared of her because like, what would she do? But also like, there is a part of me that still feels like I still respect her in some way, which maybe I shouldn't. Yeah, I don't know. Probably not. Probably shouldn't. Probably should just be like, whatever.
It is like, listen, you have a more intimate relationship with her. I don't even have a relationship with her. My only experience meeting her was awesome and lovely. And she was kind.
She's great.
And great.
Yeah.
You know, and there's a lot of reasons why it's easy to be a fan of hers and just like everything, right? So even for me, just even being critical on the show feels kind of like,
it feels wrong.
Like, I don't, why, you know, like,
I know.
Maybe I'm even maybe I'm speaking on things I don't realize.
Right.
I don't know, and yada, yada.
Yeah.
So I couldn't even imagine what it's like to be in your shoes.
Yeah.
But it does feel real. That phone call sounds like it was a real wrong, like a bad. Like that shouldn't have happened. It feels like, and it feels like you shouldn't have been put in that place at a time in which you were maybe the most vulnerable.
Yeah, no, I agree. Looking back, because I thought it was sweet. Oh, she's calling to check in, and then it like took talking to friends to realize that wasn't like, she doesn't care.
So was she like trying to ultimately like blame the night on like it wasn't just James, it was you too, kind of thing?
It felt like, you guys are young. This is what happens when people drink. Ken was also a playboy and naughty when we were younger, and I had to whip him into shape. Like, it was giving a little it was a little like that era. It's like, okay, kind of a little misogynistic, but she was like, you're gonna, she was like, honestly, this is kind of iconic, but she was like, you're gonna kiss a lot of frogs and you're gonna marry a frog too. That's just the way that it is. I was like, that's so depressing, Lisa.
I mean, that doesn't have to be that way.
No, it doesn't. I don't want to marry a frog.
Well, I mean, listen, like, I don't know, like, hey, we all have our flaws, like, you know, in a lot of ways, I'm a frog, but it's just like, if we're talking metaphorically, but like some frogs aren't abusive.
I love Princess and the Frog.
That's interesting that Lisa Vanderpump is, in the sense, trying to get them to stay together and kind of say, like, you guys are both young and this happens when, you know, there's alcohol involved. You know, you were drinking too, Ally, and, like, you both didn't help the situation, and, like, this isn't him. This is just him drinking. It's making excuses. And she's always tended to support the guys, even though they've done some things that are just not tolerable. And it's weird. I could see more her supporting James because of Max and them being close, and that's one of Max's best friends, and she does feel like another mother to him, and she's had to mentor him throughout the years to be a better version of himself. But she's also said throughout the years too, like, he just can't drink. Like, how many chances did she give him DJing at Sir? Because him DJing while drinking was never a good combo, and he's lost his job numerous times with her. So it's not like she's not aware of the situation and him drinking, and that it's not good for him. She should be more motivated that he gets the help that he needs. I also see it in a perspective, it's like older ways where, like, you kind of sweep it under the rug kind of a thing, and you stick it out for better or for worse. They're not married though, and she does not need to tolerate something like that. And this isn't like a one-time deal. This was multiple occasions it happening. So it's sad to see that Lisa is not very supportive, and that she is persuading Ally in the sense that, you know, James is still good for her, when reality is maybe he needs time to figure himself out, and maybe they aren't a match. And just that whole, like, not being a woman's woman. I don't know. Well, what do you guys think? Let me know down below what you think about Lisa Vanderpump and what she had to say to Ally during that call.
I don't know. I feel like also that call, it just goes so deep, and that whole cast goes so deep, and like that's why also it's like I can see clearly a little bit more than everyone else. I don't know where it's like that, but even though I actually couldn't, because I needed friends to really be like, Ally, that was wrong. That conversation was.
Did you feel supported by the rest of Vanderpump cast when the news broke and there were paparazzi photos of you moving out of his house? Did you feel supported by them, or did you kind of feel like no one really wanted to speak on the situation?
I felt supported.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, by the women like that. Yeah. Like Sheena, obviously, yes. Lala was the first one to text me, and her text was really sweet because it helped. Literally, she texted me like 2 seconds after I saw like an article. So like I was just like, nice. Fuck. And it was basically like, hey, I've been here. Like, turn your phone off and just take care of yourself today. Call me whenever you're ready. Like, it was helpful. Yeah. I was like, okay.
It felt like she was being a real friend.
Exactly. Yeah. And and Ariana and Katie too reached out. I didn't really talk. I mean, I don't even know if I replied. I didn't really I really tried to stay off my phone, but I felt the support. Yeah.
James running into Andrew Tate.
Oh, God.
Felt like at the time, like the most appropriate bad karma.
Yep.
In a way, like what was how did you hear about that? And then what is your general opinion about that situation? He's obviously come out and acted like he didn't know anything about them and what they stood for. That's very difficult to believe, even if he didn't know. Like, why did he want to take pictures with you? It's just like,
My thought though, he and again, I'm not defending him, but just like knowing how his brain works, like he wouldn't have posted that if he thought it was going to get, do you know what I mean? Like he was already in the hot seat. Like he's already basically canceled. Like I genuinely think that he is a little slow and was not. I don't think that he really knew the extent of them. I think he probably knew Bitcoin or whatever I don't know, but I don't think he would have posted that, honestly.
That kind of does make sense.
Why would he if he knew? Like he's just a little.
That's honestly the best defense for him.
He didn't get it, which is also a problem. Which, yeah.
Okay.
That does make sense.
I kind of have to agree with Ally that I don't think James would have posted that photo if he realized the extent of just who the Tate brothers really were, because he did delete the photo after it was already up. I know it was in his Insta stories, but it was deleted from his Insta stories before the 24 hours were even up that it was even on there. But thanks to the good old Vanderpump Rules Reddit and Bywig Hello Drama, they have archived this that we are able to take a look and see. And this was it. Even James in the photo, he looks a little drunk there. What do you guys think? Let me know down below. Do you think that he knew the extent and any kind of drama, whether it's good or bad, is out there and is going to put your name in the spotlight kind of a thing? Or do you think he had just no clue how bad these guys really were? I'll tell you this, if the Tate brothers came up to me and said, hey, can we take a picture with you? I'd be like, go fuck yourself. Thank you. Peace. Bye. That's how it would be for me.
You have a new show out.
Yay.
Came out last week. Second episode's out today.
Yes.
That's all. No surprise about horoscopes. Mm-hmm. Our audience loves horoscopes. So I'm not going to ask you why'd you start this podcast, but give our audience a little bit of a glimpse of what they can expect, and then I believe we're going to give them a little preview.
Love.
You're gonna do with us what you do on your show.
Yes. So basically, I love astrology and doing people's birth charts. I love being able to connect.
How did you get into it in the first place?
I was always kind of just that girl. I was always into it, even as a child. I guess spiritual, but I just loved all that kind of stuff.
Let's call myself a skeptic.
Yes.
Okay. I'm just going to generally a skeptic, but how did you, because for you, it goes a lot deeper than reading a daily horoscope, right? Or just knowing what your sign is and things like that. It is something that you really, it's a compass for you.
Yeah.
So can you explain to me and just the audience, what value you get out of it?
Yeah.
And then why to you or why it should be to anyone more than just a punchline or some kind of voodoo or party trick or whatever.
Yeah.
And that, why is it more than that?
You know why I love astrology? Because I don't even have the answer to that. It's this whole mysterious thing that blows my mind every time I do a birth chart reading. And I do use it as a compass. I use it as a tool. I use it as a guide. I've gotten a lot better. I do not live my life based off of it. I do believe in free will, but I also believe in like fixed fate. And I think we all have a destiny that we play out. And the birth chart shows us that. It's like, these are your strengths, these are your weaknesses, and that's okay. Like, we can't all be perfect. And, we all have our little things, but it tells you so much about yourself. So like, you not only get to learn more about you, but also like your partner and your friends, people. We're also interconnected, and astrology just proves that. And like, that's why I'm obsessed with it.
Okay.
Awesome.
Does that make sense?
Well, I'm excited. You did mine, you did Nick's, and you also did Rivers.
Yes. And I love Rivers, you guys. She's a Libra rising, which I'm looking at Dad because like she's going to have, I know that you're a Libra.
She's going to be like me.
But you guys they do have a lot of similar traits. But don't worry. No. I knew you were going to say that.
But my chin.
She
my large
unfortunately
chin
looks
and my big
too much
toe.
like me. I say like River has my looks, but Nallie's beauty.
Oh,
But it's true because she looks a lot like me, but I
remember when you had her and you were saying like the family was like, oh my gosh, she looks like Nick. And you're like, stop. Like, no, I birthed her.
I just carried her for 9 months and pushed her.
She's so beautiful in a way that it doesn't come from me.
Oh, well, she's a Libra rising. So she's literally going to be beautiful forever. And she's going to.
What do you mean by that?
Okay. So the rising sign, that is your energy. Like that is absolutely how you move through life. Like our sun sign. So like your Libra sun, that's who we're becoming. That's who we want to be. That's where we feel our best and where we feel confident. So like, think of it like that. But the rising sign, that's really how we move. That's how other people view you. It's your motivation for living. So when we have a Libra rising, she is ruled by Venus. So that is the planet of beauty and love and art and history. And like, she's charming. She's going to be so diplomatic. Basically, everyone is going to be obsessed with her. And she's going to have a lot of lovers and boyfriends. So that's why I looked at Dad. I was like, sorry, Dad.
Whoa,
she's going to be really popular.
But will people respect or... Well, I'm going to ask you a question. Would you rather be liked or respected?
So I'm a Libra moon, Capricorn sun. So that is a great question because I want both.
Okay. Because I definitely want my kids to be more respected than liked.
Of course. Yeah.
Even feared.
Respected. Of course, respected. Yeah. And it's the Libra placement. It's kind of funny you say that because their whole like lesson, every sign has their thing. And with Libras, it is like, eventually they learn, okay, everybody does like you and want to be around you, but you have to learn that like you don't have space and room for everyone at the table. Like you have to set boundaries and like you get to be picky of who you allow. And like that goes for you too as a Libra sun, but like you've probably learned that over time.
I'm loving that we get a sneak peek of Starstruck with Ally. I love when she does these birth charts because it really gets to hone in on that person and their astrology and who they are and their special abilities, qualities, imperfections, things like that. So we get to learn who these people are along with the astrology behind it. So I think this is a great sneak peek, and I already love so much what she has to say about River, their daughter. She is so adorable, and she definitely is going to be a little Nick. Though I would love to see the beauty of Natalie, just like Ally says. I think that we're going to see over time who, Little Miss River is. But I love that we get a sneak peek. And Nick is, one of those doubters. So let's see what he has to say regarding all of this. And let me know if this is something you guys are also interested in down below in the comments.
Okay, so before we get into our charts, I need astrology for dummies.
Okay.
I don't even know all the signs. So there's that.
You're kidding me.
No. And I have no idea what a rising or a falling or a moon or a sun is.
Okay.
And why they're important.
Okay.
And there's like someone's in 7th house and someone's in their 10th house.
Houses.
And like, who's in there?
And
Who's
there's
in an apartment?
Can you give us the basics of all this and why... why astrology is what it is and where does it even come from?
So I studied Hellenistic astrology and it dates back, before Christianity. Astrologers, they were the mathematicians of the day. They were the astronomers, right? Like that's literally where it all began, is like looking up at the sky and patterns. It's all patterns. It's just like interesting because the way that astrology, like the history of it, it's had peaks. Obviously like the 60s, right? Like peace and like there's like moments in history where it like comes back and then it always goes away again.
Interesting.
And it always, but anyway, like
where are we now in the history of astrology?
I think it's going to stay. But then again, Neptune just went into Aries, which I'm a little worried about.
Okay.
I'm a little worried. But anyway, the first astrologer woman was burned at the stake. Isn't that crazy? Because it was like a men thing and the kings, like all the kings had like the right hand men. It was like the astrologers. Anyway, so that's like where it was formed. But basically, there's a bunch of different types of astrology as well. But natal astrology is the moment you were born. So that's why that birth time and location matters. So it basically calculates the points. It's mathematical. I can't do that, by the way. We have like software that does that, obviously. Not a mathematician. But they
and like being born at like noon versus 12:05, how different could
it can change by up to 4 minutes. Usually doesn't. But like say like we put 4 p.m. for you, but like say your mom comes back and is like, oh, 7 a.m. Like it'll change.
Okay.
We'll be looking at a different
But if it was like, oh, it turns out no, it's 3:56, not 4 p.m.
Yeah, we might be fine.
The
degrees will change a little.
Okay.
So like you do want to get as specific as you can. But basically like, and this is what it looks like. It's basically a snapshot of the sky at the exact moment in time you were born.
Oh,
so I think of it as a cosmic blueprint for life. Like there's a lot in here that you have already experienced.
Honestly, it seems cooler than a birth certificate.
Yeah.
Because it's like,
totally.
Date and time.
That's true. Everyone should just get one of these when they're born. That's so funny. That actually makes
like to get a passport.
Easier.
They should be like, don't bring your birth certificate, bring your birth chart.
I'm like, why isn't the government using astrology to solve crime? They probably are. Nancy Reagan had an astrologer in office.
Really?
Yeah. After Ronald Reagan got shot the first time, she was so nervous and she loved him so much that she had an astrologer come in.
Wow.
Yeah.
All right. So what's your
okay?
Give me the basics. Like what is it?
So your rising sign.
And what is a rising sign?
It's also known as your ascendant, and basically it is the first. It's the first house number 1. That's where Nick was born. So Nick was born right here. And he entered the world. And the first energy that you ever met or like came into contact with was actually Aquarius, which is why James is an Aquarius. And sorry, drawing comparisons, but I'm saying in the way that like you,
here we go.
sorry. You both like, you know how James marches to the beat of his own drums and he says what he wants and he doesn't care about being liked, which Libras usually do. But because you're an Aquarius rising, you have an edge to you where you're like, I'm doing my own thing in this lifetime. Like, it's fine. I can break the rules a little bit.
Okay.
So you're an Aquarius rising. So that's how you move through life. Very innovative, very like creative, outspoken. But you're here. Aquarius is like very humanitarian and they're like here to shake up systems and to evolve, basically. So that's your rising sign. Also, if you're ever reading your horoscope, read for Aquarius, not Libra.
What does that mean?
When you're reading Cosmopolitan magazine in the mornings and you're going to the horoscope section, read for Aquarius.
Okay, read for Aquarius. Is that a common mistake people must make all the time?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because horoscope is Greek for hour marker. So it's all about the rising sign, not the sun. You can still read for the sun and your moon sign because those are still like really big placements in our chart. But for timing, which is like why people usually look at horoscopes, like what can I expect this month? Read for your rising sign.
Okay.
Yep.
That's a good note.
I didn't even know Aquarius was a sign.
That's crazy.
That's what River is.
That's crazy. Yeah, that's your daughter.
Literally.
Oh, I didn't.
Wait, I'm done.
So perfect.
And she's a Libra rising. So see what
you always hear about
Geminis,
Geminis, and I knew I was a Libra,
Yeah. And River is a Libra rising Aquarius sun. So you guys are switched.
What does that mean?
That just means you guys are going to get each other on like a really deeper level, have a really strong connection, like always. Sorry, Natalie, I know. Wait, let's see. Okay, wait, but also...
wait, let's see if there's anything that connects Natalie to her daughter. Hold on, let me flip for some pages.
Let me see if River is yours.
Literally. Like, actually, I think Nick birthed her. I'm going to be honest here. That's what I'm coming to my conclusion.
No, I'm kidding. Actually, I am looking though.
Take your time. Actually, take all the time you need.
But wait, before we do leave, Nick, I did want to tell you though, this is cool. Mercury is the planet of communication and storytelling, speaking. You have it at 28 degrees in the 9th house. The 9th house is where we see publishing, sharing your wisdom with the world. Like the 9th house is the student and the teacher. That's where we see authors. That's where we see like motivational speakers or people who just have a strong voice in society. So like you have Mercury conjunct your sun and Saturn. Basically, you just have a lot of energy in your 9th house. So it makes sense with like your career path and being like opinionated and having a powerful voice, writing a book.
I would have never have made it as an accountant.
No.
Yeah.
No.
I sat down like I hate this fucking job.
Yeah.
That was my major.
I was gonna say, but you would be good at it because Aquarius is the smartest sign.
I mean, I was smart.
Yeah.
But my brain did not. It's like, this isn't for you.
I will say Ally did do a good job explaining things, but it's not really the basics of Astrology 101 for dummies, which if that is something that you guys do want me to cover is her Love Struck podcast. I would be more than happy also to give a basic Astrology 101 for people, how they can find their birth chart, what they should be looking at, what each house represents and means, and all of that. Because I know it can sound a bit confusing for people that aren't really into astrology, but it is so important. And like she said, it's kind of like a path to guide you, though you can go off on your own path. It's your own free will. That path is there to guide you, to help you to understand this is what is possibly going to happen, and if you want it to change or be different, this is what you need to look out for to be able to reroute yourself onto a different path for your own mindset and free mind and power and all of that great stuff. So if that is something you all are interested in, please let me know down below. Like I said, I love astrology. I used to do weekly horoscopes here, and if that is also something you would be interested in, I would be happy to do that, though I believe like Ally probably does that in her podcast, so we can just maybe stress upon it a little bit more in that sense. So it could all work out for the best. But like I said, I would be happy to give a basic, this is what everything means, this is how it connects, this is why it's important, so that way everyone understands when we are listening to her what she's actually saying and meaning.
Libra in the 9th too is just like, it's very well, it wants to travel and like learn about like deeper life stuff. The 9th house is always just like a big question mark. Like, what is the meaning of life? And it's Libra, so it has that relationship theme because Libra is the sign of relationships.
It is? Oh.
Mm-hmm.
All I knew about Libras is that it's a sign of balance or something like that.
Yeah, it is the sign of the scales, balancing. It's the idea that we're meant to balance ourselves, like our soul, with another.
Oh.
So it's a balance between the two. With Libra, I think 2 is better than 1. It really loves partnership.
And is that partner like a Virgo?
And the partner is a Virgo. He has Jupiter in Virgo, which means that when you guys met, it probably did feel like almost like you guys have met before.
Ooh.
In another lifetime.
Okay.
Yes,
It was just a like very, very magnetic attraction.
Yeah.
And it's in the 8th house. So like the sexual chemistry, it was like, yeah, you guys were just like, oh my God.
Oh, it's popping.
I'm obsessed with you.
Wow.
Yeah.
Can concur.
Okay, can concur. Okay. Okay, great.
It's fun. You also have Venus conjunct the North Node, which the nodes are not a planet, obviously, but they're a point that represent our purpose. And you have that conjunct Venus, which means in this lifetime, it's quite literally like, I'm not telling you what your purpose is, but that's your path. Like your soul is here to literally understand like people and relationships. Do you believe in astrology now?
Yeah, literally.
Listen,
We're getting there.
what I love about these conversations is because like, I think, astrology, like you mentioned, it's easy to mock or make fun of,
Yeah.
but like there is a science behind it.
Yeah.
And I say this as someone who's grown up very religious,
Yeah.
Very Catholic. And I mean, no disrespect to my Christian audience members, but like there is a level of faith. If you're Catholic, you learn about faith.
Yeah.
And you learn the power of believing in something greater than yourself.
Yeah.
We believe in God and there's a certain faith. And it's just kind of like, well, what's the difference between that
Yeah.
and astrology? There's a level of faith
Yeah.
in believing in something outside of yourself.
Mhm.
Obviously.
Also, sorry to add to that because I get asked this a lot, and I just want to say that you can have both too. Like I wouldn't even say astrology is like my faith. I believe in a higher power. I'm very spiritual, but this is again, it's like I use it as a map. I use it as a tool. Like you can
and
still
also
have
like,
faith.
yeah, why does it's like they shouldn't butt heads or
Yeah.
in a sense, because like
It's
listen,
like therapy.
if God exists, he gave us the stars. He
Mhm.
also gave us whatever ability to understand them,
Yep.
type of thing. It's just
Totally.
like, and for me, like I have a vast appreciation as someone who like no longer like actively goes to church and I'm not that religious anymore, but I had a really great experience personally.
Yeah.
I know other people didn't, like growing up Catholic.
Yeah.
As I've gotten out into the world and met other people, whether they're be it Jewish or Muslim or atheist, like I've just learned about other people, other belief systems, and I just
Yeah.
have a immense respect for them and what they believe in. And the idea that I could sit there and say, my God is better than yours, or it just felt so ignorant. And so like, I just have a huge respect for faith in general, because if God exists,
Yeah.
like
And we don't know.
we don't, you know what I'm saying? Like it's,
Also, for listeners that do know astrology, I just have to let you know that Nick has a stellium in the 9th house. So literally
What does that
everything you're saying is is so on par with your chart. The 9th house is the house of religion, belief systems, faith, questioning it all, because you're very aware that there's more out there, but you're just on a journey to understand it.
Yeah.
Like, not that you need to know everything, but you're just curious. Like, that's the 9th house. And you have 4 planets there. So that just means there's a lot of energy
Love
in that area of life for you.
Okay.
I like how Ally says too, it's not a faith, it's more of a roadmap, a guidance on how you should set forth. Like I said, it's kind of like it's putting you on a path, and it's telling you this is your path, and if you want to change your path, if you don't want it to be a negative and you want to put it into a positive form, you need to then do this to make it positive. It's there as guidance. And you can still have any faith you believe in and still have the astrology, because our world, we are so small in this huge planet, and there's just so much more to life that even the fact of, like you said, if you believe in God, like you believe that God put the stars, the moon, and all of this out there for all of us to one day learn about, to understand, to believe in, to explore, and to broaden our horizons. And that is just more of a guidance in that sense of there's just so much belief in what you are doing that this is just there to help you, and believing there is more to life than just yourself. So, I love astrology, and I'm also a Catholic, so I can understand where Nick is coming from. And I've also love learning about other religions and what they believe in. And I don't ever feel like my God is better than everyone's God, because I believe in the same sense that even if we are not in the same religion, we still have the same God and that presence and having that faith in a higher being. And there's more to life than just this. And, I went to a Catholic school my whole life, so knowing the Christianity and everything behind it is something that I was taught, but I also was taught other religions. By going to a Catholic school, we learned about other people's religions and their faith and what they believed in, and there is just so much more to life than just little things.
All right, tell me about my wife.
Okay.
She's like, doomsday.
Absolutely not. No, I'm obsessed with Natalie's chart. So you're a Virgo.
I am.
Which I love Virgos. I love Virgo women.
Our second baby that we lost was supposed to be a Virgo. And I was like so excited because I was like planning. I'm like, our next baby has to be a Virgo because I'm a Virgo. And like, we need another Virgo.
Another Mercury.
Anytime I meet a fellow Virgo, I'm like, I'm obsessed with you.
Actually, can we talk about that for a minute?
Sure.
Are you comfortable talking about that? Yeah. So the fifth house, this house here real quick, this is the house of children.
Okay.
And you have your moon there. And I just want to let you know, because like the moon, it's the most important planet. It's how we mother. It's how we nurture. It's how we feel safe. It's how we regulate our emotions. So like wherever the moon lives in our birth chart, like that is an area that we have to nurture. It's like the most important area. And you have it in your fifth house of children, which means quite literally also like not everybody who has this placement needs to be a mother, but that was probably always like a really strong desire for you. And the moon is a wave. So like there's always highs and lows, right? It controls the ocean
Nick's
tides.
crying.
Oh.
No, I didn't.
Well, okay.
Anyone who says nice things about my wife, I just cry.
Oh, that's so sweet. You guys see, Lisa, she didn't marry a frog.
See, I have always said I feel like I was put on this earth to be a mom.
Yeah.
So that does make sense.
And also just the moon experiences all range of emotions. Wherever we all have the moon somewhere, and you can look at a chart and be like, okay, that's an area that is going to be emotional because that's the moon. So because you have the moon in the fifth house, it's going to feel the highest of highs and the lowest of lows. So I just want like, even like the experience that you just had, just trusting like you have River, there's still like so much nurturing that you're meant to do in this lifetime. Like you are a mother. Like that's just, I don't know. So I just wanted you to know that because there's absolutely, if you guys are going to try again too, the moon in the fifth house is like, that's a special spot for you.
Yay.
Children.
Okay,
yeah.
yay.
Also, you're just going to be a great mom in general, like even with River and your friends, Yeah. Okay. But then you're a Virgo sun and you have your sun in the second house. The second house is the house of work hard, play hard. Like we like nice things in the second house. This is where we like eat the fine food, drink the fine wine, travel, luxury.
Is anything about purses
good taste. Yes, this is where purses live, literally. And it's in Virgo. So like also earth sign, love the green. Yes. Like earth energy, especially Virgo. It's just very timeless, classic, head on your shoulders, like loyal and just like hardworking. But play. Like that's the thing with the second house is it really, and so the sun is where we shine. So I'm glad that you like, also just by the way, you have Leo Mercury. Leo Mercury is like, I'm performing. I'm on Broadway. Okay. Like you are a star, Natalie. Literally, you are a star. You have Venus also in Leo and you have Mars in Leo and it's all in your first house of being seen in this lifetime. So like, I don't know.
What does that mean?
I think you're meant to be like a movie star.
Oh my
listen, I've been saying since I met her, she's the real star in this family.
Yeah.
And my chart is here to prove it.
I think you were always definitely, even like being in LA, I always call like Leo, like the LA, New York City sign, like it's pulling you out into the world. But Leos, they just want to make people happy. They enjoy performing. They enjoy art.
There was an article covering the most recent miscarriage and the headline was Nick Viall's wife talks about the miscarriage. And I said to her, Natalie, unless 6 to 12 months will be the last time anyone ever refers to her.
Love that.
As that. Mark my words. Mark it down, people.
Okay.
Now it's going to be like a real big deal.
No, like I literally, when I pulled up your chart, because I honestly was expecting you to have some Leo somewhere, but like it's you. I was like, okay.
It tracks.
Yeah. Like you are really here to shine in this lifetime. Like that's your rising sign. So she's a Leo rising. So like everywhere you go, it's as if you think of you as like you're the sun. Because Leo's ruled by the sun.
The world revolves around me.
No, the world revolves around you. Literally. And you just make people feel happy and warm and like they want to be in the sun.
See, haters, I'm not a raging
She's
bitch.
great.
No,
I
that's
am
true.
literally a ray of
I mean,
sunshine.
when Natalie walks into a room, she's magnetic.
She is magnetic. No, like the first time even meeting you, like it makes sense. Because I just remember being like, oh my God, like you're so beautiful and like just easy to talk to. And also like being in the sun and just like being in warmth is important to you too.
Natalie is just like a ray of sunshine. Like I've always felt that like she brought so much of a different insight to his podcast, just like that warmth to it and that understanding, and she just has that laugh that's so contagious, and so like you just want to smile and be bright and cheery. She brings that to his podcast, and I've always felt that way since she's been on it now with him. And I love that Ally is like picking this out from her birth chart, and like she is wonderful, and I could see her being a superstar, and I just can't wait to see the growth of Natalie and see just how far she goes, because I think she's an incredible person, and Nick really lucked out with her, and it's so cute to see them together because he is just so in love with his wife, and it's a magical feeling just being able to witness it. What do you guys think? Let me know down below.
Yes, I do love Japan.
What else is fun? Ooh, okay, you have Jupiter and Pisces in your 8th house. That's very intuitive. Jupiter is the planet of expansion and opportunities, but like wherever Jupiter is in our birth chart, that's where we have like natural gifts and talents. And the 8th house is, I call it the haunted house, because like that's where we go into that. Like most people don't want to go into the haunted house, but like if you have a placement in the 8th, it's like you want to go in, or you're going in regardless. So you might as well enjoy it. It's where we do see like some clairvoyancy, psychic abilities, very spiritual. Also, therapy and like healing. So being able to just even do stuff like this, right? And like talk deeper and have like deeper connections. You're going deep in this lifetime, but always trust your intuition.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah.
What else can you tell us about our daughter future?
He's like, that's enough about Natalie. Wrap that up.
And wrap it up.
I'm just kidding.
Oh, I was going to say too, but Jupiter in the 8th house, I call it the haunted house because there is like, it can feel unfair. That's where we can see things like abusive relationships, trauma, death. Like I have a lot of planets in the 8th house too. And like I lost my dad when I was younger. The 8th house is where we kind of have to experience like the shit end of the stick sometimes, but we grow from it. And like
is that why I have so
Natalie has
much
that?
trauma?
yeah.
Natalie's
No,
got some trouble.
yeah. It's a gift though, like eventually.
So let me
right?
ask you this, like, and this might get into the kind of voodoo-y type of thing, but like Natalie has a lot of trauma from her childhood, very all sorts of fucked upness.
Yeah.
And you're reading her chart based off of like information when she was born.
Mm-hmm.
If you were reading this, how do I ask this question? I want to be very careful how I ask this question. What part of it is like, what did you say, the planned destiny or something versus like, you know what I'm saying? I don't want to suggest it's like, oh, it's something's in this house and some bad shit's gonna. It's
Totally.
like, it's gonna, you know, how do you grapple with that? You know. What
And
I'm
by the
saying?
way, no, that's such a good, because like for people watching, if they're like, oh, I have Jupiter in the 8th house, or like is my parent going to die? It's like, no, I've seen plenty of people with 8th house placements that have not experienced that.
Or is it like, did that bad shit happen because of my chart? Almost in a way.
Yeah, that's kind of the fun debate of astrology, where it's like we can sit there, and that's why also every astrologer has a different take, and I believe in positive thinking, right? And like putting good energy out into the world. So like I always try to view everything as like the first thing I said, oh my God, you have Jupiter in the 8th, like you're really intuitive. Like the good things are first, but then it's like, okay, I remember what we were just talking about. And I'm like, let's be real though. The 8th house comes with a bit of cobwebs. That's why it's the haunted house. It's like, it's a little dark, but Jupiter naturally is such a positive planet that it's like whatever you go through is going to benefit your life in some way later on, whether that's like you're able to help other people or whatever. Yeah. And also like even from your own childhood, like whenever we see you have the sun in the 2nd house conjunct the north node, our purpose point. It's like you were always very independent and almost had to parent yourself and like be your own strength. Yeah. And again, with the moon in the 5th house, right? Because like now you're in your motherhood journey. But like when you were a child, you still had your moon in the 5th house, which can look like mothering yourself and having to like heal your inner child.
That's spooky as fuck.
Isn't it crazy? Yeah. No, I know. Sometimes I'm doing it. I'm like, I'm scared.
No, that is really,
it's fun.
I know we like a positive spin, but what can you tell us from our charts, if anything, about blind spots, bad habits, weaknesses, things that we might be prone to do? You know what I'm saying? Does that make sense?
Yeah, I look at the aspects. So communication is honestly really key for both of you guys. You have, where's Nick's Mercury? Yeah. I wish I did your guys' synastry chart or composite chart. We can do that though another time.
When we come on your show.
You can be hard on yourself with the work that you do, bit of perfectionist. You have Saturn in the 10th house, which means delays also within the working world. But Saturn is the planet of mastery. So trust that good things within your career, it takes time. Even literally like what you just said with like, that's not what they're going to be calling you. And months from now is very funny because Saturn in the 10th, you're hard on yourself, but that's because you care and you want things to be good. You have the opposite. You have Mars in your 10th house. So yours is like you're speeding through. It's like, I've got a lot to
Nick
say.
does?
I'm just going to go. And it's a little more, there's more energy there, where yours is more like, anyway, that's for career though.
It's like Nick does leave cabinet doors open. Nick's not going to be able to pick up his clothes and put them in the laundry hamper.
Oh, wait, where's Nick's?
I get where Nick is coming from, where like he wants to have that like, okay, what's in my chart that like could let me know this is something that's going to happen that's not good in my life that I can be aware of. And that's the great thing about your birth chart, is that yes, understanding every aspect of it, you will find negatives along with positives. And there isn't one exact thing that'll be like, well, this is what's going to happen to you. This is what's going to be tragic in your life. This is what you're going to have to go through. No, because even though those are there saying this is what you could potentially go through, this is something that could happen in your life, you can still change those because you are in control of your life and the direction it takes you, that there are different things that you will be able to do to inherently not go down that path of tragedy, or take a different path and be able to bring positivity instead of tragedy in your life. And I don't think he'll ever get that answer of like, what's my birth chart that's gonna, let me know that devastation is coming my way. There will be things that can help you understand this is what could happen, so that way when those things are approaching, you can change the approach. Get what I mean?
Well, yeah. So
does it explain why I'm aloof or forgetful?
Aquarius rising and the Libra, you're very air. So Libra and Aquarius are both air signs. Okay. So that the definition is literally an airhead. And yeah, it's like we're kind of like up in the clouds. Okay. And we're thinking about
that's beautiful.
We're thinking about a million different things.
I'm up in the clouds.
It's like you're like eating dinner, someone's asking you about your day, and you're like, do you think that like aliens are real, and like what is really
well, it's just more like someone could be talking to me and they think I'm there, and I'm like, I'm in outer space right now. Like,
yes.
He's in the clouds.
Yep. I'm out at lunch for sure. So that's air energy, and you have a lot of that.
He's gonna use this.
And then you have Virgo, right? So like in general, Virgos are the organized, like perfection ones. Mm-hmm. So that is probably that that difference there.
Are Libra and Virgos compatible?
So with compatibility, okay, this is going to be a take. I don't really believe in that.
Oh, okay.
I think, okay, well, that's not true. I believe though that we're all compatible. Not in the sense that like, obviously you're attracted to who you're attracted to, but like that speaks for itself. That kind of goes back to with like, we don't need to use astrology for everything.
But it sounds like almost there's so much information we could get from these charts that there's probably with every couple points of compatibility and points of incompatibility and how any couple chooses to approach
we can learn
that.
from it. Yeah. So like you guys found each other. Now we look at the chart and we can see, okay, what can we work on? And like, what's great. You guys are both building really an empire together. You both have really lovely 10th house placements. And like star power. So like your career is really important. But I've seen charts of people who got divorced that had beautiful compatibility. And then I've seen charts of people that are still together with like not by textbook, like the best compatibility. So like it really just depends on like how willing you are to work on yourself.
In the relationship.
And I think that goes without saying that like there's always going to be some compatibility between people, and there's always going to be some incompatibility within people. And yes, astrology will help point us to what our best compatibility is, but doesn't necessarily mean that's what we have to go for. And I know I've seen it with like other people that are very into astrology. They're like, oh, I will never date a Pisces because Pisces is like my worst compatibility. Like we are completely different people, but you can't base it on that. So, you learn from it's like I said, it's a roadmap. You learn from it. You take this as a guide and you understand it in the sense that you take that, you understand it, and you apply it to what you want for your life that is the best option for you. So that's very interesting that technically on the scale, they're probably not really compatible, but they are compatible in the sense that they work very well together.
What can we expect from Rivers' future?
Like what are challenges we might how are we compatible with our daughter, and like how in what ways will like we might like butt heads?
Honestly, she's kind of like going to parent you guys eventually. She has Saturn in the 6th house. It is in Pisces. She's very hardworking. Not yet, obviously, but like one day she will be. I feel like she's going to carry on your guys' legacy, to be honest.
I have said since she was born that if I would manifest it, like I want her to be whatever she wants,
right?
As long as she's passionate about it.
Yeah.
But like, because I'm a big sports fan, and obviously I do this, I talk for a living.
Yeah.
I could see her being like a premier like sports woman commentator.
Like, oh,
like she's gonna be a woman in sports.
Well, luckily
like
for
talking
you,
for a living.
She has her son in the 5th house, which again, the sun is where we shine. And the 5th house is the house of entertainment, movies, music, sports. It's like the entertainment house. So I was going to say, but like, that's just where my head goes first, right? It's like movies, but like she could very well be an athlete. Yeah. Or have
just
a bit of she's performing in some aspect. She's gonna do something that she enjoys.
Okay.
She's not going to do probably like accounting. Like she's gonna be more in like the arts and like entertainment. Also, she's a Libra rising, so they're usually just drawn to like literally poetry, beautiful things. She's gonna have such good taste. That she gets from you. That's your second house placement. There we go.
Something.
And she has excellent taste. You saw that in her chart?
Yeah, she does. Yeah. You have the 2nd house. Is it your moon? No, sun. So yeah. And your son is in the 2nd house. So like that's where you shine. You're proud of, I mean, your guys' home is so beautiful. I remember like when I first met you and you would like post and I'd be like, what? How did you do that? Remember I lime washed because of you.
Oh yeah.
You lime washed, didn't you?
Yeah, our guest bedrooms. Yeah. We just did our pop-up studio as well.
I love lime wash. Me too. I was obsessed. So that was from you. That's sun in the 2nd house. It's like she shines there. So people get inspo from you. And your daughter has her moon in the 2nd house.
Brandy's out there.
Hey,
she's just saying that I actually.
Circling back to you, all this talk about astrology and then our previous conversation, I'm wondering, how has astrology helped you through this experience? And what have you learned or discovered about maybe some bad habits you have with like just how you show up to relationships or stay in relationships and things like that?
Totally. So that, I think I told you guys, I was like I was honestly dreading last December, like the previous January. Like I knew the December for James and I was going to be super telling and wild and really test our relationship. So then when everything fell apart, as sad as I was heartbroken, but the other part of me, and this is why I love astrology, is it does remind me like, okay, one, this is just weather. Like it'll pass. Like we always go through eclipse season and like there's always crazy astrology happening and then there's always beautiful astrology happening. Like it's just weather. It'll pass. It was meant to be. I believe that our birth chart is all about like getting in alignment with your higher good and like where you're meant to be, and it's all lessons. So that like mindset helps me a lot. And then with me personally, like I know I have Saturn in the 1st house, so I do have to work on setting boundaries for myself and not, and this is something like for future Ally to consider, is like slow down and like pay attention to red flags and set boundaries for yourself. Yeah.
I think setting boundaries is tough for anybody because it's something that we have to do, especially if it's with somebody that we love. It's very hard to set boundaries because we don't want to have to put those limits on somebody. And we wish that it didn't have to be that way, but we need to set those boundaries to make sure we don't fall through the cracks or we don't get into a place that's not good for us, and that they can learn that like, though, I don't want this to happen, it has to, because we can only grow from this. We can only learn from this. We can only better ourselves from this. And I can't have you put that pressure on me that might make me do something I don't want to do, or be a person that I don't want to be, or experience something I don't want to go through. So though boundaries are hard, it is sometimes necessary, and boundaries are good. It's healthy to have boundaries, healthy to have morals, healthy to have standards, and just live by them. And if somebody doesn't abide by our moral standards, boundaries, any of that, then we have to make them aware of that. And if they can't respect those boundaries, then it shows who they are as a person. And we need to take that step back, look, see, and decide for ourselves, is this good or bad? And not break those boundaries just because, we love somebody, but I love him. We have to know what's best for us.
So to be a little bit more like trusting my own schedule and timing of
Do
things.
you feel like your propensity to keep things positive or put a positive spin on things has clouded your judgment in the past?
Probably, yeah. But I honestly then maybe this is wrong, but it's fine. I'm fine with it, because at the end of the day, I don't really have any regrets, and I want to have my best life possible. I want James to have his best life possible, and like the clarity, it's here now, so I'm grateful for that. But I think, I don't think it's necessarily a bad thing to want to see the best in people, but I think it's good to be aware that you're that type of person.
Yeah.
Which I am. So.
Yeah, I mean, it's only a problem with people like, oh, you're a fixer type of thing. Like,
right,
it's,
yeah.
At its core, it's a good thing, because it comes with the intention of, wanting to show up for your partner and do your part.
Mm-hmm.
The problem with fixers, and I've been that person, a lot of us have, is that sometimes we show up too much. Like we do our half, then we do their half, or part of their half, And then we're always like, we're covering our ass, we're coming for their ass, and things like that. And we can't really draw the line between what is healthy behavior and what necessarily is well-intentioned behavior, but actually a little maybe toxic on our
Totally.
part.
Yeah, I saw something on TikTok this morning that was like, women stop being the understanding girlfriend. And I was like, whoa. I mean, I think it's good to be understanding, but I feel like there was a deeper point where it's like, okay, but eventually if you continue just being like always understanding, like they aren't learning.
Well, yeah. I mentioned this at one of our Ask Nick episodes. I had a caller come in. She was talking about her boyfriend, and she was just talking about, well, he's just, he's younger, so he's like, I don't forget the details, but basically it was, I kind of said like, listen, like you're just playing into the stereotypes that like men mature slower than women, and so like anytime he does this, you're just making an excuse for ultimately what maybe just he doesn't care. Like maybe this is just who he is, and maybe like we don't need to make excuses for him, and even though we can come up with a reason that makes what they're doing sound a little better. Ever since I learned about attachment styles, I thought I was very fascinated, very interested. And then fast forward 6 months, everyone was like, well, my boyfriend's like, he's avoidant. And it's just like, so then all of a sudden, every time he was a dick.
Yeah, we excuse it.
It was just like, well, it's because he's an avoidant.
Yeah.
And
that also goes with Gemini men, like women with Gemini men. They're like, well, he's just a Gemini. Or like, that's just a trait.
I guess, but like, does that make it okay? And then sometimes understanding things, I've had to learn that is you can go a step too far. Like you can over therapize yourself. Like you can get too much therapy.
Yep. I agree. I agree completely.
Sometimes you just have to accept and move forward.
And it's so much easier said than done. Like I will say for people, like, especially if it's an abusive relationship or a toxic relationship, like it's hard, but like, from where I'm at now, it's like, oh yeah, like why would you give him so many chances? Or like, you know what I mean? It's easier said than done, just for anyone out there, but like leave him.
And I agree. We should not regret what we've been through, but take each step and everything we've been through as a lesson to make us a better human being, a better version of ourselves, and be able to understand and be able to live on with telling what we've been through, because everything we've been through only makes us stronger. And with anything, you can overdo something, no matter what it is. You can overstimulate, you can overdo anything. You can overcomplicate, you can over shop, you can overeat, you can over anything and everything you can overdo. So even being in a relationship and overdoing the, trying to change somebody, make them a better person, we can overdo that. We can overemphasize how great our relationship is when it might not be. So that is something that we need to consider and take, and not try to overstimulate ourselves when it comes to situations and things like that, and just learn from that. And I also agree with her too. Things are easier said than done. Like we can like take that step back now that she's not in the relationship with James and be like, yeah, that was very toxic, and what I was putting myself through was not healthy, and it was abuse, and it was verbal, and it was emotional, and it was physical. And I don't know why I gave him so many chances. It's easier said than done, but now she's out, and that's what matters. And she can learn and grow from that experience. And sometimes we need to take that step back and tell ourselves we will be okay no matter what happens, and we will get over this no matter what. Sometimes we get scared of the unknown and not knowing what holds our future. And if we leave our partner, are we going to be able to continue on? Where am I going to live? Where am I going to stay? What am I going to do? Am I going to be able to keep going? Like, there's always that fear of the unknown, and we can't be fearful of it.
Is there a message for ladies who might be listening to you and hearing some similarities in your story and relating it? I know it's easy to say just leave, but maybe what are some questions that you would recommend people listening to ask themselves to maybe have a more honest conversation with themselves about the choices they're making, right? Because like you said, like so you've really acknowledged if it weren't for your friends, if it weren't for your mom, you wouldn't be sitting where you are today, having moved forward, having moved on. And so how can people listening who are relating to your story have more honest conversations with themselves? Because it is so easy to try to make excuses, mask certain behaviors, things like that, and then ultimately opt to stay in a situation for all the reasons you just talked about, the guilt, the fears, where am I going to be, et cetera, et cetera.
Gosh, I feel like I'm being so honest. Like, I feel like I still have so much to learn about those types of relationships, because, and every situation is different, obviously. And I really wish that I like, you might have something to say. I wish that I knew, because I'm just like grateful. Now I'm grateful. Was not before, but like I'm grateful for the way it played out, because I do think that it made it easier. So, I mean, I guess maybe being honest and like opening up with friends or people that are like in your circle, just to get the feedback of like, that's like not okay. Even though you probably know that deep down anyway. So like, I don't know.
But sometimes it takes a person on the outside to kind of like wake you up and make you realize things like that. So
yeah. And then I've also had friends who've just been like, one day it just hit me and it was like, okay, woke up and just finally decided like enough is enough. So it's like different for everyone. But I think just having grace with yourself and like just trusting like your friends that are around you and your support system. And if you don't have that, therapy, there's so many great resources out there now, like so many. So just opening up to someone and like feeling loved, I would say.
What's something about yourself that you're currently focused on working on, being in kind of this season of like healing and self-improvement?
I feel like I moved into my new apartment. I love decorating too. So I've been like throwing myself into that, and obviously like my podcast, and I'm doing readings. So I've been really busy. So I know that I still need to make sure I'm taking time to like, heal, but I do yoga. I love yoga. I do meditate. So I try to always make sure that I love reading, and I've been reading like a lot of like relationship books and like therapy type books. So as long as I just take a time out from like, I don't want to overwork myself, Capricorn. So like, I just try to have balance, which is hard, but.
Have you been doing any dating?
No dating.
No dating.
No. That's scary.
Is it like, that's like right now you're just, that door's closed for you in this moment? Or
yeah, I think that I'm totally, focused on myself and my podcast and my apartment, and just like fully enjoy. Like I feel so free that I don't want anyone to like get in the way of that.
Yeah.
Like I'm finally feeling like myself and happy. So I'm just going to ride that out until I'm ready.
Love that.
Thanks. So I'm not dating right now. And I think I just have obviously a lot of healing to do, but then also my therapist, she's amazing. She helped me realize something, because after this James like breakup, I kind of had this wild moment where I was like, wait, I have not a type. I do have a type. I love musicians, but I have a type of like, I keep dating alcoholics. So my college boyfriend had a drinking problem, which is ultimately why I broke up with him, because I was like, you're drinking a lot and where are we going? What are we doing? So I broke up with him. And then now with the James stuff, like those addiction issues. And I was like talking to my therapist and I'm like, why do I keep dating alcoholics? Like that, what does that say about me? I was like kind of beating myself up over it. And she was like, which by the way, like you guys don't know this, but my dad died when I was 11 from like alcohol related issues. And she was like, you're trying to save your dad. And I was like, whoa, that was crazy. So therapy has been so helpful. And I really feel like I just need some more like healing, I guess.
Yeah. I think you learn a lot about yourself and about the choices that you make because of what you've been through or what you've experienced in this life. And going to therapy really opens up those doors and makes you understand yourself a little bit better.
Yeah,
So it
totally.
does make sense.
Yeah.
Crazy.
Well,
This felt like therapy too. Because I really don't, I'm a very like push it under the rug unless it's therapy. So like I feel actually good that I was able to like share this, and like thank you guys for making me feel safe. And
well, thank you for sharing. And I know it's not an easy conversation to have, and I'm glad that you felt comfortable having it. And like, just from my opinion, I think you did it in the most gracious and kindest way for the other person, regardless of how they think and feel about it.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, you have a story to share, and you are a public figure. And people are very curious about your story and your life, and you have your fans who are worried about you and concerned about you. And
so that's another thing. Like, thank you to honestly, like what helped me also get through and not go back, my mom too, but the fans, like the amount of messages and DMs and just like support and people being like, proud of you, like it just was so helpful. Like I can't even really explain it, but it really was helpful, and I read a lot of them. So
thank you for opening up and sharing, and I really believe this will have a very positive effect on a lot of people's lives, and hopefully yours as well. And congratulations on your podcast.
Thank you.
Starstruck. It's out now. Yes. There's 2 episodes out now. If you guys are interested in listening, there's a link to Ally's show in the show bio. If you want to click and find it there, check it out. Cool. It's a lot of fun. It's a very interesting topic.
Thank you
for doing it really is. It's really it's really quite fascinating. And the more you learn about it, like there's clearly something to be gained from it, or just a little bit of insight, right? It's like one of those things where it doesn't have to be some religion or dogma. It doesn't have to be your entire compass, but like it can be a guide. A little bit.
Yeah. I love that. Thank you guys.
Thank you. Love you.
Love you.
Yay.
Bye.
Yay. Bye.
Wow, what an amazing episode. But some last comments before we go. I think that therapy is good because you can be open and honest, and you can also get that feedback that you might be needing to hear. Like, if you can't be open and honest with your friends, at least like with a therapist, she could be like, that's kind of being very abusive, and like open your eyes to things that you might not be aware of. And that's kind of a good thing when you have therapy within any relationship or even by yourself. And that's why I always promote therapy, because it is such a positive thing and it can only help you grow to be a better version of yourself. And before we go, I do want to show you her new apartment video that she put out. It's a little short for you guys. I think, though, it's wonderful that she is working on herself and she's not dating, because this is the opportunity that she needs where she can excel in whatever she wants to do. I mean, she has a new podcast. She's been putting out new music. She's a wonderful freaking singer. If you guys have not heard her sing, she has such a voice on her. I think she can go very far. And I think that as she just works on herself, she'll finally meet someone special without even thinking about it, without even worrying about it. She will meet somebody special, and she'll have that opportunity to break those habits, especially if she continues to keep dating alcoholics. And like she did say, like her therapist did help her see something that she was not aware of. It's breaking those bad habits and finding something that maybe like you necessarily don't think is your type, but ends up being your type because you always go for that same type, and that same type isn't working. So I think that will be good for her as well. And I think she was so very gracious, so very respectful still of the relationship that she had with James. And it just shows the type of person that Ally is. She is an amazing, incredible, wonderful person. And I absolutely think she can put a smile on anyone's face. She is like the sunshine walking in the room. She's so bubbly, so special, so cute, and just adorable. I love an Ally video. So before we leave, let's take a look at her new apartment.
Oh, hey, starlets. Welcome to my home. This is my new apartment. It's in Hollywood. This is my kitchen where I eat breakfast. This is my go-to breakfast. I did not make it. This is my favorite thing in the kitchen. Of course, it's my coffee maker. I obviously am going for bistro vibes in here. I wanted to feel like I'm in France and I'm at a coffee shop. Oh, Banks, come on. This is my sous chef. Mr. Banks is a Taurus. He was actually born on Earth Day, April 22nd. Bodhi is a Libra, an October Libra. This is my living room. If you don't already know, I live in Hollywood. Going for the classic chic black and white look. I love the rug. I think that's my favorite thing in here. This is my guitar. It's a Taylor. This is like my dream guitar. I've wanted this guitar since I was like 16 years old. Here's my hallway. Lots of closet space. Here we are. This is my bedroom. I love it. I went for the green color, obviously, because I'm a Capricorn, which is earth energy, and I love feeling calm and grounding, like I'm one with the earth. This is my favorite thing in here, though. This is my vanity. I just wanted a new vanity where I could just have everything. Has so much space. I love the mirror. I'm obsessed with her. I found this on Etsy, but it's Moon River, and it's sheet music for it, and that's my favorite movie, Breakfast at Tiffany's. Love Audrey Hepburn, and Moon River is my favorite song. Oh, hey there. Want a reading? Welcome to my office. This is where I do my readings. This is my little astrology room. I feel like this is the room where I'm an adult. I have a printer. That's crazy. These are all of my astrology books that I like having close by. I have my crystals and some Palo Santo. That's one of my favorite photos from literally one of the best days of my life. I got to film a music video with all of my best girlfriends in the desert in Palm Springs for my song Girls Girl, and it was so much fun. I get my taste and love for interior design from my mother. She's a Leo moon, so she has great taste, and she actually really helps a lot. She loves interior. When I walk into my apartment after a long day, the space just makes me feel really happy and proud. I feel like it really embodies everything that I love. And now I'm home. Thanks for stopping by. See you soon.
How very cute and contemporary. I love what she did with the place. But one more thing before we go. So right after this episode was aired, the next day, Nick Viall had Katie Maloney and Dayna over at his podcast to do a reality recap. And while they were there, he asked them about this episode with Ally and their thoughts and opinions on Lisa Vanderpump trying to kind of persuade Ally to get back with James. Here is what they had to say regarding it all.
For anyone who hasn't listened to Ally Lewber's episode on Going Deeper, is out now, and boy, it is a doozy. Did you ladies get a chance to hear some of her commentary on that episode?
I saw a clip and then I read a transcript. I mean, it was a lot, so I got the bulk of it mostly, but there was a lot of.
I mean, the jaw dropping moment for me was her Lisa Vanderpump phone call.
I guess so, but also like. Not surprising, you know, like it is shocking because it's like, wow, like she really said that, but also like I fully believe that.
No, I fully believe it too, but like I definitely see what you're saying, Katie. Like it's shockingly not shocking, but like when you hear her tell that story, first she's like she got a call 2 months later, so it's like you're not calling out of consideration, even though you're pretending to give a shit. Like you clearly have a motive for your call, and to find out that motive was to first blame Ally as part of like. James's actions and making her feel like her drinking was part of the reason why James was drinking, and then try to convince her to get back together with the guy, given everything that's out there, is just nuts. Wild behavior.
Yeah. I mean, it's like when Tom and I were divorcing, like she made me feel like I wasn't justified or valid in my reasons or anything like that. And then also, you know, kind of made it about her because she's like, I wrote those vows. And I'm like, okay. You know, it's like the constantly wanting to be acknowledged for the generous things that she's done in life, but like often and unwavering. It's difficult because it's like that. No one's ungrateful, but like,
I like that. Shockingly not shocking. Though it was shockingly not shocking that Lisa kind of put the blame on Ally and, like I said, tried to convince her to stay, was not shocking, but shocking that she would even remotely say something like that. Like I've said, we've seen throughout the years, Lisa has some kind of like thing for these guys and like kind of sweeping it under the rug and like don't let the public know and maybe just pretend everything is perfect when it's not perfect. Like maybe that's how she grew up, but that's not how we need to deal with our issues. And I don't know. What do you guys think? I want to hear what you all have to think about this. Let me know down below.
Has Lisa ever thanked you or the cast for like pouring your hearts out and like sharing your lives for her benefit?
I mean, I feel like we see on the reunion, you know, she's been like these guys give it their all, but it's still like we should be just great. It's, you know, it's like just always grateful for the opportunity more so than what we brought to it. Yeah. That's the vibe I get. I'm not saying that's exactly what she said, but that's definitely the vibe I've always gotten. I'm like, since Ariana and I opened up something about her, I haven't heard a peep from her. No, like congrats, no nothing. And I wasn't expecting it and I didn't need it, but like, yeah. Wow. So when she wanted to be upset, I also saw that she was upset that certain people didn't reach out when the news of the show came out. I was like, I didn't hear from you either. I know that you were asking Alex Baskin what all of us were thinking and saying on our phone calls with him, but like she didn't want to pick up the phone.
We're
either.
Rewatching Vanderpump right now for Plus. And I wonder, like, did you feel either like looking back that like she very much favors the men on the show? And it seems like it was like even just like handing Tom a bar when he couldn't do like a bar shift. Like it's just like you've been working there consistently. Ariana was like a top bartender, but it just seems like she very much like favors the men on the show. And like the women are kind of like, well, either deal with them because they're adorable or like, I don't deal with you.
I think there is that sort of favoritism that is given more freely and openly to the men. I mean, there was times where I was very close with her and she was, you know, she would look out, she would call, she would check in, and same with Ariana. But it's like, I think the major divide that happened with everybody was like, you know, post-Scandal stuff. And she really just wanted to look out for him and just kind of disregarded how that would make other people feel. Right. Or what that would, like the message it would send to everybody else too.
After like hearing Ally's story and like you realize just how close James and Lisa are. And it can't help make me wonder, you know, that literally that night that James got arrested, again, I was talking with James at Kathy Hilton's party and congratulating him on all his success and seemingly looking like one of the few, you know, especially guys who really like found a groove post-show and in his DJ career. And now I really can't help but wonder, is it really because of James or has Lisa really been like pulling strings and calling in favors? I mean, if she's so willing to pick up the phone 2 months later and call his ex-girlfriend and try to make her feel bad and get her to get back together with James for the sake of helping his career, like what else has she been willing to do to make this guy happen that maybe he wouldn't otherwise make happen without Lisa's support? Because it really seems like it's almost like a mother-son, like we're like, it really doesn't matter what James does. She will always go out of her way to make excuses for him, have his back, and try to cover up for his mistakes and make sure he still has a career and still works. Like, I don't know. What thoughts, Katie, Dayna? What do you think?
I mean, I don't know how much pull she has at like Tao Group in Vegas. So I don't know that she, you know, he was getting booked with DJ things and whatever. I think that played out on the show. So he was able to leverage it. But do I think that where she could help, she would, and that it's upsetting that, especially when we're talking about substance abuse issues, when someone makes it someone else's responsibility, like you're a stabilizing factor, so you need to be there, you need to be in a relationship. That's a crazy take, and I feel like we've seen that kind of play out. But yeah, I don't know. Katie, what do you think?
I think Lisa understands that she's had a lot of influence with fans and viewers of the show, even like on Housewives. Like she was very well liked and popular, and her takes and her opinions of people, it mattered to people, and like they would kind of be like, well, if it's good enough for Lisa, it should be good for the rest of us. So I think that kind of played into like a lot of the way people viewed certain other people on the show, and especially when it comes to James. She's like, if I can just go to bat for James, people will maybe think that I should as well, or that they should
or like
trust
he's not that
him
bad
or
of a
trust
guy.
her.
If I support him, he can't be that bad. He just must be misunderstood, or like something like that.
But it gets to the point where it's like, okay, for sure, when things are like a little bit in the gray, but with something like this that's pretty cut and dry, you should read the room. I guess, I don't know.
Well, check out the episode if you haven't already. It's
And that's a great question. Like, what strings has Lisa been pulling for some of these people? And I do feel like there is some kind of favoritism when it comes to the guys over the girls. And just the fact that, like, Lisa hasn't reached out to Katie or Ariana is just crazy. That she's not keeping in contact with these people. And these people made her so much money. And yet she always said she cared so much. I get like losing ties with people and like life moves on, time flies by, things happen. I get all that. But like not checking, like you are right next door to their sandwich shop. You have not gone in and seen these girls. You didn't even go for their opening day and you're not even 2 freaking feet away. Like that is beyond me. I don't know. There are just some things that like make me look at Lisa in a certain way and I'm just like, I can't believe that she's like this. But she does have a lot of say when it comes to the fans. And like I adore Lisa Vanderpump. I always will. But then there's just some things about her that I have to also remind myself, that's not right. That's not cool. That's not like, there's things that she does that just, why? So you have to take that into consideration too. But what a wonderful episode. I hope you all enjoyed this as much as I did. Make sure to like this video if you have not yet done so. Those likes help me so much with the algorithm and here on YouTube. And that's the one thing you guys can do to help support me. And I appreciate it so very much. And also, if you have not yet subscribed, make sure you do subscribe because you don't want to miss what's coming up. And if you hit that notification bell, you will get notified every time I post a video or go live, which I will be coming out with another Nick Viall Podcast episode for you guys, along with a Disrespectfully episode and, of course, Starstruck with Ally. So stay tuned for much more here on my channel. I hope you guys have a wonderful evening, and I will see you guys again soon. Bye, everyone.